Fielding control of Diogo Pinto, and as the Portuguese driver weaves his tires, he picks up the throttle, and we go racing from the streets of Belle, and already there's a red light, and while they bunch themselves up, there's the expected chaos and a car in the air.
Traffic ahead of him. Oh my goodness, that was a big set.
Oh, that's dangerous. This is not on.
So dangerous.
One more lap to go up front, and the caution will indeed fly. Diogo Pinto, 4 different winners in 4 races to open up the season. It's with championship stakes that the VCO IndyCar Challenge, powered by Open Wheels, lands in the city of action. And here on the high banks of the Auto Club Speedway, 150 laps of pure unbridled chaos with a championship winner going to get crowned. Hi folks, Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Lewis McLean for one final ride. Lewis, it's been a fun summer to say the very least, and you and I, we've commentated on our fair share of races here. Phil Krause has got some worries as he got the rest of the pack lurking over his shoulder and a crown ready to potentially be his.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a pretty dramatic round. Obviously, last time at Elkhart Lake, and to be fair, it's been a dramatic championship thus far, and it all comes down to this finale. Let's be honest, if it isn't dramatic, we are all going to be very, very shocked indeed. It is always full of drama around Fontana.
And, well, I can tell you from watching some of the practice, there's been some big crashes, hoping they've got that out of their system before we go racing. This is the season that has been. We had a couple of weeks between the first and second round, but then it's been brutal. And, Lewis, it's all run alongside the qualifying series for the IndyCar iRacing Butt Kicker Series as well. So these drivers have had their share of the Dallara IR18, but this is a track that I think plenty of experience has already been had as they get ready to go.
Yeah, indeed. Look, it's all building experience, all preparing stuff. But let's be honest, they're probably not focused on too far in the future. Just qualifying, just the race itself. Got to get through qualifying first, of course, as always. And you've got to get yourself into whatever position in the championship you can.
And remember, as much as we'll talk about the top 3, really, there are so many other fights to keep an eye on. David Toth, Diogo Pinto, there's 12 points between them, and then a further 6 back to Pablo Espez with Christian Hilgard in that mix. Top 10 in this championship get prize money. Both Alexander Van der Sat and Peter Berryman are missing this final race. Who can try and take advantage and work their way on forward? But Lewis, let's talk about those front 3. Krause, Costantini, and Leo. It's a 30-point advantage that Krause has heading into this final round, and here's how the various situations play out. Because there's such a big difference between finishing first and finishing second, it's very much advantage Krause, and Costantini and Leo have it all to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, Krause is really good on the ovals, so realistically, if he kind of sits somewhere inside, I'd be shocked if he wasn't inside the top 5, right? He's that good when it comes to ovals. Sure, maybe he might go on and win the thing, but that's probably got to be the goal for him right now. He's aim for that top 5. Think championship, don't think victory in the round. That's where things can become unsettled. However, for Costantini and for Leo, it's win it or bin it. It doesn't matter. You've got to go for this. High risk, high reward.
I'm looking forward to this. I did chat with Eduardo Leo last night. He was saying look for his updated red line livery back in P last. I'm not sure if that's necessarily what I'm looking for here today. There's the look at the wall of drivers though, Lewis, as they get ready to go. One driver still got to get back in his rig with qualifying moments away from getting underway. 10 minutes, they get the track to themselves, and 4 laps to get the fastest lap that they can. 35 drivers out of the 40 that are in this zoom shot will make it into the race.
Yeah, what do you think the heart rates are looking like at the moment? Probably fairly low right now. And trust me, especially when they're approaching the last couple of laps of that stint is going to be pretty high on the heart rate, as they'll all be resting their way, for track position to get into the race. And again, imagine for Costantini, for Leo, and for Kraus, where their heart rate is going to be going into the session. It's one of those ones where you just start shaking before you even get into it, before you even start turning the lap.
2 points for Paul as well. And remember, if Phil Kraus gets those 2 points, it very much helps him for both Costantini and Leo. They would love to get it, but I'm wondering what it's going to be like at the front. 2 invited drivers to talk about, by the way. Jason Brophy joins us in the private label team hype with Powerslide Motorsports number 88, and Brendan Lichtenberg, who joined us as an invitee at Iowa, raced last week on very short notice at Road America as well. He's back in the Team I5G number 10 machine. Going to be very interesting to see how they run, expecting them to be up towards the front.
Yeah, I mean, look, these are the kind of days where you never really know who's going to be right at the front. This is so dynamic, and this is where those drivers that maybe haven't gone so well through the season, or maybe those that, like you say, are just jumping in for this round as a guest drivers. These are the kind of rounds where they can see themselves up towards the front. We're expecting a slight pack race thing. I think it's going to be a bit of a pack for the first couple of laps, and it's going to spread out because, as you can see there, Arjuna, it's a little toasty out there. Yeah,
the weather gods have very much made this quite warm. At the early stages of the race, qualifying going to be quite scorching as well, and so as they crash down there on the apron, which shouldn't expect too many drivers to be down there over the course of the race. Expect that, though, to be something to keep an eye on. 38 laps the fuel window, 150 laps. Let's be honest, Lewis, we're expecting some cautions. That's how we'll know if it's a fuel mileage race or not.
I will be unbelievably shocked if we get through this race without a caution. In fact, Arjuna, I will shave my head almost completely bald if we don't get a caution. You've got to get some today.
I think I'm on the same page as you as we see the first drivers head out onto track. We've had we've had a caution every race so far this season. Only 2 at Iowa, though, the only previous oval round of the championship that we've had. Going to be interesting, though, with this qualifying session building, what the various teams have all developed in terms of qualifying approaches. Here, immediately out goes Danny Alves Lorenzo, who I think just missed the field at Iowa. What can he do to try and make the fast 35 as he runs his way to the line?
Yeah, indeed. Let's take ourselves a look. I think we only had 2 at Belle as well, by the way, when it comes to the cautions, because there was one right at the start of the race and one right at the end of the race, with an apparent commentator's curse.
Apparent.
It's not. It's total rubbish. Dropping down then into the first lane, going through 1 and 2, which kind of makes sense. You do want to dip it down a little bit low. You'll see them run quite a bit higher up into the second and third lane throughout the race, but your qualifying line and your race line, 2 very different things, because you can really work that front right.
And so, as they try and minimize the distance down, using the apron as they cut to the line, basically ensuring, I think, it's a 1-lap run for most of the drivers. What's that going to be for Danny Lorenzo? It's a 32.820. Now, where's that going to stack up on the board? That's really the question as the rest of the times start to trickle on in. Alexander Russell, provisional pole. The fact that Wilson Nadeau, who's usually quick in qualifying, is only second, I think that time from Russell will stand up well.
Yeah, indeed. Pascal Sticks then moving his way up, and like you say, not too many drivers. There's Josh Chin, someone who we do expect to go quite strong, goes for a 6.20, so about 600ths of a second faster than Alexander Russell's. You're absolutely right, though. What they're going to do is they're going to go out, do the 1 lap, basically cross over the beam, escape or bail, and that's basically it.
You say that, but Brian Carey didn't go down to the apron. He's gone half a tenth off of pole position on his first lap. Oscar Mangan does cut out on the second, straight into turn 1, and now Brian Carey bails, so quite interesting. Eduardo Leo, though, first lap, 7 seconds off. Diogo Pinto's 4 seconds off the pace. These red line drivers have found some sort of strategy. It's now Brophy up to second, 9,000, splits the front row.
Yeah, clearly doing a slow first lap here just to get the tyres into a solid operating window rather than attacking the circuit straight away. Let's see if it's going to work. Diogo Pinto only to 10th position. Phil Kraus goes to the top. Here comes Eduardo Leo.
And that would be very important points if he can hold. Leo only goes up to 11th, and so there's 3 tenths that effectively split some of our championship rivals. Where's the next one of the contenders, though? Here comes Costantini.
Yeah, indeed. This is not a flyer lap. I think even I could go faster than this one. Is that not annoying, listening to that all the way around? To be fair, let's have a vote in chat. What's more annoying, leaving the IndyCar in first gear or listening to our general broadcast? Whoa!
No, I agree with you on that one. I'd rather listen to an IndyCar all day.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
but
he's
in first gear?
But he's going around the entirety of the lap as well, apparently.
Clearly, it's about getting engine temperature up.
Yes.
That
oil temperature, to be clear.
Yeah. Like getting that up into the operating window, even less so than the tyres. So this will obviously be the first lap was about getting the oil temp up. This lap's about getting the tyres into the window, and that's why he's run the higher line. This will not be a particularly quick lap, but he's going for the same strategy as what we've seen from the red line drivers, and it didn't work for them.
Let's see if Coanda figured it out. He's going up high as well, so this is another setup lap. And you saw the championship points momentarily. If they stay as this is, Kraus will have a little bit of a happier smile, I'm sure. Remember, at the end of the day, Lewis, those championship situations, Kraus thinking about trying to get up to the top 10. At a track like this, there's no guarantees.
I mean, I actually don't agree with the strategy that we've seen from Redline and from Coanda of this two-lap strategy, because it clearly didn't work for Redline. Phil Kraus, one and done, did not do a build-up lap. Jeff Drake now goes up to 5th, and that could be Costantini done.
Oh, that's problematic. And so, Jesper Orman in the Indy Alliance racing car, as well as now Sam Carasala joining him up in 9th position. Andrew Marquez, another one now doing the slow burn. Plenty of different contenders trying different things. We focus on the Championship 3 for a second. Brendan Lichtenberg to 9th. Let's see Olivia Hayward, 33rd right now. Can they improve? Trying to run up towards the line.
Now, obviously, let's explain this, because obviously in previous rounds where it's an open qualifying, so everyone's on the circuit at the same time as to what we've had in previous rounds, and we were in different groups and all that likes, and the bottom lot don't go through, the top lot do go through. But most importantly, you couldn't escape on the circuit in previous, because that's breach of the rules. In this, you can, I assume?
Yes. No, they were all told, you got the track to yourselves, do whatever you want in qualifying. That includes apron, which they can't use that for the majority of the race, Lewis. The only time they'll use the apron in the race itself is Chad Simpson launches himself up to second, 4 thousandths off of pole. Only time they'll use the apron is coming to the checkered flag out of turn 4. Yeah,
which, let's be honest, it's the kind of the one time where we're always pretty critical of people not lifting for yellow flags and stuff. Coming out of turn 4, oh my goodness, that is a big hit on the barrier at T4. Yeah, coming out of T2 rather. Coming out of turn 4 on the final lap of the race is the only time where it's acceptable, regardless of what's ahead of you. You keep that throttle pinned, baby.
Blake Reynolds has just jumped to 34th, so right in front of Brandon Roseborough, who's setting up for what might be his final run. He's found 9 thousandths of a second. That's not going to get him back up too much more position, so 30-50 stays right on the bubble, although Marquez has now dropped him out. Just Taylor yet to set a time. Less than 4 minutes yet to run.
You know what I've seen that's very interesting is we've obviously had Phil Kraus, who's gone out, he's done his lap time, and then it's better. He's done his 32.6, right? He's just done a lap in first gear, as is what we've seen from Costantini, and what we assume is what's happened with the red line driver as well. He's done a slow out lap. So this is the build-up lap, getting ready for the final lap of his session, which is about to come up. Interesting for a change of tactics. So he set the banker lap, and he's now going to try and go for a big one.
Let's see what happens. Costantini's got the pressure on, because right now he's on the outside looking in. 39th position, Michael Johnny as well. Gustavo Ariel's just gone to 35th, and he doesn't get another lap. So Barneveld, Reynolds, Hayward, Costantini and Johnny, some pressure on, and as the 66 breaks the line, will second in the championship still have some fight left in them? Yes, Costantini to 27th.
That is not great, though. 27th, you are in the danger zone. What a dramatic qualifying session this has been so far, which leaves the championship leader right at the top of the session, brings it down to the apron. Is there going to be any improvement from Phil Kraus? 32.602 to beat. I think it's quicker. It certainly is. 32.5.
Oh, my days. He found even more time. Half a tenth now at the front. And so pressure on the rest of the field. Chad Simpson now slowing down as he crosses the line. Does not find himself, I think, with an improvement. It's still second, though, for the Satellite Racing number 42.
That's a huge moment, though, for Phil Kraus to have done the same strategy to what we've seen from the other and still, prove that it's quicker. I mean, that's just showing that Phil Kraus is looking very quick so far this evening. Brophy's been pretty good in this session. Obviously sits less than a tenth off of the pole time, but who's got speed in them over this final moment? Who's got laps left? That's the important bit.
I think for the most part, it's session done and dusted. Allman's got a chance. Alex Russell's just jumped up to 7th. Jeff Drake might still jump forward as well. Akabuizi's made his way forward from the back. I think we know who's going to miss out. Olivia Hayward, Michael Johnny, Blake Reynolds and Ryan Barneveld. Still with chances, though, down at the very back. Here's the look on board with Brophy. What can he do from 4th?
Yeah, this is less so about survival for some of these drivers, more so about track position, especially for Brophy, who sat there in 4th position. A little bit of understeer. It's a little bit tight there down on the exit of 4 as he comes up towards the line. Let's see what the number's going to be.
580. It's a now private label team hype with Powerslide 1 and 2 on the front row. And who else will still have a chance to improve? Christian Hillgard's going to break the line. He's had a very good season, all things considered. Now can he be the best satellite racing car? Yes, he breaks the line and jumps in front of Simpson.
Going to see some, like I say, some solid improvements here late on in the session, which is, like I say, it's good to see. Jeff Drake, final lap of the session coming in. Let's see if there's going to be any improvement here. Currently, like you say, sits in the 6th position and 10th off pole. And we've seen the improvements coming in late in the session. Wonder if it's cooled down slightly.
And it's all about understanding in this 10-minute session when to run. And I think the 4 that had some laps down the back have not all improved, but Olivia Hayward has to 33rd. Diogo Pinto's in 35th. Redliner struggling. Jeff Drake to 4th. Here comes Hamilton Akabuizi, one final driver to the line. Does he find more time in his number 13?
Yeah, indeed. No is the answer to that one, but Jeff Drake up to 4th position there. I think that pretty much is session done. And Phil Krause, wow. I mean, if he wants to take the crown, he's looking very strong for it right now.
There's another look at the championship points. Again, 2 points for pole. I don't think there's anyone that's going to steal that away from our points leader as it sits right now. And so, situation becomes even simpler. 8th or higher, Krause has the championship as his. David Toth in the Drago racing car as a final driver at the line. He does not improve. And Lewis, that is a qualifying session done and dusted. Pascal Stix, Pablo Espes, Gustavo Ariel, Ryan Barneveld, and Blake Reynolds. Some big names missing out in the action.
Yeah, I mean, look, exciting qualifying session. Really, really exciting. It does mean, though, that championship-wise, things might look a little bit flat. But let's be honest, 150 laps around here is definitely anything but flat.
That qualifying session proved to be interesting. It really means that I think we should expect the Pro Series qualifying, where they'll just get one lap and all these same games being played, to be similarly interesting. Once again, just a look at the championship situation. Phil gets pole. 8th or higher is all that he needs to do. And based on how that qualifying played out, Redline looking like maybe they don't have the pace of those up front, I think Eduardo Leo, unfortunately, Lewis, might not be a contender here today.
Yeah, 31st position for Leo. I mean, to be fair, Costantini 29th. So the 2 drivers there, second and third in your screen, they are a long, long, long way back from our championship leader, Phil Krause, on that pole position, who's, like you say, his life's just got easier. That said, with the speeds of Fontana, of here at Auto Club Speedway, you know that things can change in an instant. In an absolute click of a finger, you could be looking at winning the championship and suddenly one person's made a mistake. Doesn't have to be someone you're battling with. Could be someone you're putting a lap down. Could be someone on the exit of pit lane. Someone trying to get down to the pit lane, they make an absolute mess of it. One dodgy restart and it could all be over.
They get a brief minute now or so to warm up, to get maybe some of the nerves under in their system out of the system. But Lewis, one thing as well to think about, qualifying setups a little bit different in some ways to race setups, but let's be honest, it's going to be quite sketchy for the most part as drivers trim off the downforce and try and extract as much speed from the car as possible. Yeah, like I say, it's going to be interesting to see what people are going to change, how people are going to decide to work their way through it. I mean, I always like a race around Auto Club, same as obviously with Michigan in that sense, because the race is completely different to qualifying. Just because you've got a quick car in one does not mean you're going to be quick in the other. No, absolutely, that is definitely the case. As these warm-up minutes count their way on through, let's just again show you those weather conditions, what exactly we are talking about, because I think tyres and fuel going to be a big talking point over the course of the day. 51 degrees Celsius. What does that work out to in the alternate units? I've got to go and Google it. 124 Fahrenheit. I was going to say, you're asking me, Sam. Absolutely. You're the one that lives in America. Add the 1, carry the 0, divide by negative I. There you go. It's simple, Lewis.
Yeah, look, I can only do 2 translations unit-wise. It's miles per hour to kilometres an hour, and then obviously inches to centimetres. But that's a very different topic. There's not we're talking about degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. No idea how to do that one. Something about isn't it like the freezing point of a certain brine solute? I don't know.
You're really going off down the rabbit hole now, aren't you?
It's stupid. It's what it is.
At least we've got no corner numbers to talk about today, Lewis. We've come from Road America. Once again, there's a look at the faces of the drivers all ready to go. This is going to be a fun one. I'm excited. Last time we were here, technically with the ISO WC in 2021, Christian Steele, who you can see bottom right or so, he was battling to the line with Valtteri Landa. Things went wrong. Who came through? Andreas Eich to take the victory. Could we see something similar? I don't know if Steele's hoping so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I hope very much not that to be the case. Look, again, that came down to a late restart. If I remember, was it late restart? Or was it just racing towards the line? I can't remember.
They were 3 wide with Josh Chin at one point. That's all I remember.
I can't remember. I just remember it being chaos and it coming down to the very, very last moment. And that's what I mean about this is you've got to be playing the race like you would do at the Indy 500. If you've done anything like that, it's the first 140 laps of this race are just survival. Just keep the car on the road, then you go battling for 10 laps. That sounds boring. Trust me, it's anything but.
And so let's get ready to rumble. 150 laps here from the Action City. And it's Phil Kraus, championship leader, 2 extra points to his name, and now knows an 8th position or higher is enough for him to be crowned the 2024 VCO IndyCar Challenge King. Jason Brophy, his teammates alongside, what can they do to try and work together with Hilgard, Jeff Drake, and then Chad Simpson and Josh Chin? 58 thousandths covering the front 6 positions. Go back to 7 to find Alexander Russell alongside Hamilton and Carboisi. Identical lap times between the two of them. And then Jesper Orman, Brian Carey on the edge of the top 10. It's Brendan Lichtenberg and Sam Carasala, 11 and 12 positions. 13th for Wilson Nader with Jacob Oser rocketing alongside him. Oscar Mang and Luis Nunez in the heart of the pack with Brandon Roseborough and Christian Steele, 17th and 18th positions. Michael Romanidis and David Toth bookend your top 20 with Danny Lorenzo, Andrew Marquez and Matt Taylor, and Blaze Andrich the rest of the top 12 starting rows. Then you get back to those drivers that are going to really be struggling in the early stages with the dirty air. Johnny, Ross, Munoz, Dance and Costantini. What can he do having to work his way forward and a win really on the cars in his championship hopes? Julian Alteno finishes your top 30 with just Eduardo Leo, Lucas Lodato, Olivia Hayward, Adam State and Diogo Pinto. 35 drivers strong, ready to rumble for the 150 laps. Lewis, I've got goosebumps in many ways. It's been a while since we've had these sort of championship stakes. I think Phil Kraus, though, might be feeling the weight of expectations. It's how he deals with it right now that will define his championship hopes.
Yeah, exactly. Got to bring this home now. Just got to focus on getting inside that top 10, or rather staying inside the top 10. He's starting from pole position, for goodness sake. But, this is one thing that he will be aware of as much as everyone else, is this race can be won from any position on the grid. From first place, from 10th, from 15th, and yes, even from 35th. Anyone can win this race, especially at this skill level. You've got to survive, and Kraus will know that better than anyone else.
And it's a long race. If we get some green flag pit stops, that's when potentially the field will start to stretch out just a little bit more. Lewis, it's time for me to put you on the spot though. Who wins this race? Let's not talk championship. Just throw your number out there. Random number generator.
Well, you know I'd want to pick the 78, but there is none. So,
true.
I'm going to go Jeff Drake for no reason that might be number related.
Nice. I see where you're going this one. I don't know. I think maybe Jason Brophy could be one to watch at the very front of the field. I think one thing that we know for sure, cautions are to be expected at some point. Might be at the front, might be at the mid-pack. How many cars get involved? How many cars will be left to fight at the very end? That's what all these drivers will be thinking. For the final time this season, though, let's send the pace car off and away, expecting him to be back at some point. It's field in the hands of our championship leader. And here from the Action City, let's find out who wins the 2024 VCO IndyCar Challenge. bit of a check-up further back as cars start to stumble over one another, but they launch themselves into turn one. Couple of cars poking their way out 3 abreast, about 15th position on back, but teammates up front working together. Jeff Drake, Phil Krause and Jason Brophy, along with Josh Chin, 1 through 4.
Yeah, yellow flags already out. There's an enormous crash in the backstretch. I was about to say about how Hildegard had a really poor start, but who's that flipping away? Wow, Simona Biles has joined us.
Wilson Nadeau has gone to the Olympics and has received a perfect 10. Jacob Oster tangled up as well, and well, we couldn't even get down to turn 3 before we slowed things down for the very first time.
That was quite a dramatic crash, and to be honest, we're not shocked at all. That was a big one. But like I say, those are the ones you've got to avoid, and that is why starting in that mid-pack and towards the rear of the field is really dangerous. Though, to be fair, I would actually say, if starting on this grid, I always say this with oval races like this, where you know you can kind of win from anywhere, starting at the front is obviously great. I'd either like to start from the front or start from the back. The mid-pack is where this stuff happens.
And well... Oh, Wilson Nadeau in the catch fencing, and then Bauer. I was watching Top Gun last night. That Goose and Maverick would have been proud of that one.
Which one?
Goose and Maverick, the original.
Okay, fair. No. Well, I was just double checking which Top Gun you're watching. Fair, Maverick's quite good this time. It's messy. Is all. And to be fair, it's expected when you're 2 and 3 wide. This is always going to happen, especially when you especially early stage. You've got to give yourself a little extra room. Look at that going to the high side. That is so risky.
Sam Carasala's in no man's land, and then Oscar Mangan's the one that has contact with Oster. I mean, that one, it's just a bit clumsy all over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I'm not going to go the whole... I can't remember who it was at the Indy 500, a few years back. But someone got into a lot of trouble because they tried going around the outside of someone very early. This might be Takuma Sato, actually. And everyone was like, what's he doing going for a move like that at this point in the race? I'm sat there being like, the move's fine, mate. But looking back at it now, it's like those moves. Like, there's a time and a place for it. Is lap 1 the time for that move? And I think looking back on it, everyone can look back and go, no, it probably wasn't.
So about 19th on back coming to pit lane. Gustavo Ariel failed to take the start from what I can see. Not sure if he's having some technical issues further back down through the field. So Wilson Nadeau, Jacob Oster, straight on the flatbed, and probably a DNF from this race. Rest of the field that stayed out, though, it's Krause, Drake, Brophy, and Chin. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now,
the caution came out like really, really early, so they've only put basically turn 1 and 2 on these tyres. They would have had a little bit of wear in 3 and 4, but fair enough, they're not that bad. So those going on to new tyres, the new tyres won't actually have like really any of an advantage, realistically speaking, to the others. They'll be slight, but that's not what it's about. That's to be fair, anyone from their back is either A, trying to get out of the danger zone because they don't want to be in 19th position, but now everyone else has followed them, so they're still kind of in that area anyway. Whatever. But it's also about sticking a little extra fuel in it so that you're opening up your potential strategies for later on in the race by maybe being able to fuel save and sneak this one. Like it's one of those ones that can play out, and you're just kind of trying to keep all the cards that you've got rather than just sort of playing with the ones that you currently have.
Well, we wondered if there would be cautions. At least we've answered that question early, right? So we can get that out from under our systems. I think a couple more drivers are going to make their way back down onto pit lane and just top off on fuel. Lucas Lodato and Julian Altena back down the tail end of the top 30. And so now just see if they're going to try and extend this run. Knowing as well that those up front, 47 degrees Celsius. Track temperature's only going to cool off from here, Lewis. And potentially the pack racing could build in those final 10 laps that you were talking about earlier.
Which sounds, as a driver, horrible. As a spectator, as a viewer, as a commentator, yes, please. That sounds great because look, we like. I actually do quite like the whole pack racing scene, and it's exciting, it's thrilling, it's tricky, it's really, really hard to navigate, and it obviously takes us back to that 2015 Fontana race in IndyCar that was absolutely excellent, but was really dangerous.
There's Now not even a chance that we can go back and find out if we
yeah.
could go racing here at Fontana in the real world, because they've torn down the track. They're allegedly going to build a short track, but you know, this wonderful racing facility enshrined in virtual pixels, and we can enjoy it for many a year to come. It's still Kraus up front though, with his teammates behind. Once again, we're ready to go racing, this time single file as we rumble our way back towards the line. Can we get a green flag lap under our belts? We're about to find out, and the teammates up front clearly coordinating quite well. Christian Hillgaard's already lost about half a second to the top 4.
Yeah, there was a couple of looks down on the inside, but obviously you're not allowed to overtake on the low side, so obviously no one's going for that. They're all well experienced. They know the pipe with that. Fastest lap of the race, absolute flyer there, 1 minute 10.0. I think that one might be beaten, Arjuna.
I might be able to cycle around here faster than that. Maybe not.
It's still 2 miles.
It's an e-bike, that's what we're doing. Anyway,
Gotcha.
Here comes Phil Kraus back to the line, and we did get the green flag lap under our belt. First move being made is Jesper Orman on Brian Carey. That's just on the edge of the top 10, and now Phil Kraus and Jeff Drake going to swap around up front. Let's see if that's going to be a storyline. Can they hold this swap back and forth?
Yeah, indeed. Drops back into line, does Jeff Drake, so doesn't complete the move. Obviously, the line around the higher side, you can carry more speed onto that backstretch. That's exactly what Phil Kraus did going through 1 and 2. It is still quite hot round there, so we're not expecting too much side-by-side. There is a little bit, though, further down in the pack.
It's Oscar Mangan, the first driver that's looking to try and work his way through. Unfortunately, might just have missed out on the IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro Series qualifying ranks, but he's had a decent summer, all things considered, in terms of the speed that we've seen out of him. Look at the new fastest lap up top, 32.701, as here comes the fight down out of turn 2.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, a couple of little battles, but this I think is probably about the highest placed of them. Seen some very differing lines going through 3 and 4. Chad Simpson's gone ridiculously high going through 3 and 4, and I think has actually used that to complete a move.
And he is someone to, I think, very much keep an eye on. He's a speedway specialist, I think, in many ways. We've seen him in the iRacing Indy 500. This similar speed, slightly different driving style, and once again, high line. Can he rip a position away from his teammate Christian Hillgaard? Now can he challenge the top 4? Josh Chin goes low to try and cover off a move.
Yeah, indeed. Well, like I say, a couple of switches a bit further down. Diogo Pinto and Luis Nunez, who had the fastest lap a couple of laps in a row, to be honest, having a little bit of a battle as we're seeing this one. Josh Chin staring back at Chad Simpson, thinking about which way to go. Phil Kraus is on the high side, going down to T1 as well, as Jeff Drake once again takes a look to the inside. This could be the move, though. That's
a big slingshot. Slides his way up out of turn 2, and it is new race leader. It's Jeff Drake in the 69. Now behind, Chad Simpson got a great run off the corner, and once again, high side works for him. He's up and broken up the stranglehold of teammates up front. Meanwhile, Jeff Drake has dropped back in line, so not quite sure exactly how this is all going to work out, but I think one thing we know for sure, as much as it's not a pack race in the traditional Fontana sense, they're very much keeping each other close.
Yeah, certainly so. Really close as well, I think, between Christian Steele and Oscar Mangan going out, as there's the switch for the lead once again. Straight to the inside for Jeff Drake, so Phil Kraus, the outside, will carry more speed in the backstretch. We'll also say, note from race control. Bingo, there you go, you're good at this. Xavi Ross is the driver who currently running in, 16th position. He was might be a little further down now because he's coming to survey drive-through.
And also, something else to keep in mind, Hamilton Akabuwizi, 10-second time penalty at the end of the race, missing the driver's briefing. Naughty indeed. Me and Lewis thinking on the same page in the early stages of this race with 10 laps complete. That was one car down low, Sam Carasala trying to rejoin the racing track. 8 laps down, Alaskan Sam, as some of our YouTube viewers call him. There's Xavi Ross back out on track and just in front of the leaders as well.
Yeah, this could be a little bit nervy for them. Obviously, they're going to want to try and lap Ross here, who's going to have plenty of speed to keep up with this lot. Was running at around about 16th, 15th, 16th, 17th position in that kind of battle, which is a part of this train. Yeah, sure, it's lower down there, sure, but pace-wise probably has enough to kind of keep up. So we'll have to wait and see how Xavi Ross is going to play this one. But yeah, it might not be too easy for the top group. But this is the high risk, that risk being raised by that moment.
There's the look at the track map where no one's really dropped off the back. We'll wonder if Sam Carasala is going to have the speed in the car to be able to close back up in the draft. Now lap times, 32.993 fastest lap for the leader. Last time by did a 33.001. So no real fall off that we're seeing up front just yet.
But I have just seen one thing come in from race control. Get quick on your button, mate. Car in third place has just been given a penalty.
Ooh, and so it was meant to be Phil Kraus in control of the field. Jason Brophy is going to now signal down low, and he's got a 10-second stop and hold. That is going to probably drop him down. One full lap. Remember, Xavi Ross barely stayed on the lead lap.
Yeah, I know Brophy's higher up than Xavi Ross, but not 10 seconds down the road. So, yeah, that is almost certainly going to be a lap drop from Jason Brophy. Obviously, the commentator's curse coming out there, because it's legit or something, right?
I did say Brophy might be a contender, didn't I?
You did. I said Jeff Drake, though, and we're all looking great.
So let's see. Here's the replay up from above. I mean, still waiting. They're in the start zone now.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty crystal clear to me.
I did wonder, because I was looking, I was actually on board with Hilgard going down into T on the race start. I was taking a little look at how, and I thought the inside line got a terrible launch, but clearly no, it's because the outside line jumped it. That's fine. Obviously, Jeff Drake continues to lead. Here comes Phil Kraus to the inside, sneaks his way past. Chad Simpson's doing a great job moving forward, though. Clearly does not care about these tyres at all.
No, and I wonder as well, if you are the Powerslide Motorsports private label Team Hype contingent, have you maybe had a chat pre-race just to say, you know what, let's not do anything silly in the early stages of this race, knowing that the last thing we want to do is impact Kraus's championship chances. Again, and let's talk not just top 3 and where they all sit right now. Let's look through the top 10 where the prize money's paid out. Remember, both Alexander Van der Sande and Peter Berryman missing today's race, and so spots in the top 10 up for grabs, and that's how it shakes up as Jesper Orman passes Alexander Russell.
Yeah, decent move there down into 3 and 4. So yeah, obviously Hilgard has had a good season, as you said. Is on the cusp of moving quite significantly forward. Could get past Toth if Toth dropped backwards, but Chad Simpson's only got a couple more positions that he can gain in this one, so can only gain really a few more points, though they are pretty healthy points gaining positions. That said, we are 17 laps into a 150 lap race, so very early in proceedings, as again the top 2 continue to switch. That's going to happen for quite a while. They've just got to be careful that they're not wearing their tyres out in doing so.
No, it's the balance, right, that you're trying to strike, and this is a track in particular where it's relatively bumpy. The racing surface relatively worn down as well, and so high speeds, high loads. Look at how they're all fanning out at this point now, trying to just search for some clean air. Don't want to be running in too much of the dirty air as it sits right now. Jeff Drake back up front. Some drivers starting to slowly carve their way through the field, including Michele Costantini, who is up to 18th position, 11 spots up from where they started.
Yeah, I did see, the likes of Diogo Pinto and such have also moved forward, but Costantini's really the big one there, as once again, championship rival Phil Kraus still runs the front. But do remember that even if Costantini wins this race, Phil Kraus just basically has to be in the top 8. That's it. That's all he has to do, and the title will be his. So needs a lot of work and a lot of luck as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's a race where you always want to just keep yourself in contention, right? And so there are some drivers who often would like to just drop to the back and keep themselves out of trouble. Don't think that's something that Costantini can necessarily afford to do, given the position that Kraus finds himself in. You can see, though, it's very, very close at the middle of the field with side-by-side action. Lorenzo's battling with Brandon Roseborough in the black and gold of the Hydro Race Geodesic. Behind them, Munoz now on the outside of David Toth and making that move work as well. Really interesting, the comers and goers only about 20 laps away from pit stops really being a reality.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it'll be slightly longer because of the running under the caution, which they might have been able to save a little bit of fuel in. We'll say for Costantini, who's just got to the back of Toff now, does have the assistance of teammate Michael Johnny behind, so at least can do that. Ticks off David Toth. They've got to worry about the speed coming off the corner for Toth. He might be able to sneak one down the inside at 3, but I will say I think played a smarter game there, lifted out of it. Just breathing the throttle just a touch to make sure to not go alongside going down to 3 and 4 and just basically waste a lot of time.
It is a high-speed race, right? And while I always Iowa was stressful in its own way, right? It was 18, 19-second lap times, 250 laps. The race really just flew on past with the only 2 cautions that we had. This is a race where you're always just gripping your wheel that little bit harder, worried that one move from either yourself or someone else could be your last. And one thing about when you're battling, Lewis, is if you see something in front starting to brew, you always know that crashes slide up the track initially, so be careful where you decide to place your car as Javi Ross, the lap machine, hits the wall out of 4.
Yeah, indeed. That was really kind of instigated by Alex Russell, just having either a little bit of a tight moment coming off 4. I will say, around this circuit, probably the wall that gets hit the most around here, if you've ever driven it in an IndyCar, you probably know before I even finish this, is that wall on the exit of turn 4. Because it feels on every qualifying lap and on every, when you're on fresh tyres and stuff, it feels like there is no way on planet Earth you're going to get near to that wall because you've got so much grip. But as the race goes on, as the tyres start to drop off a little bit, as you get into a little bit of dirty air, you end up getting pushed and pushed and pushed towards that wall in the same way that we're getting pushed and pushed and pushed towards the ceiling.
Read your mind.
What is that camera angle?
Read my mind, Lewis. Hamilton Akabuizi, I'm guessing that at one point that camera was pointed at his face, but now thanks to the bumps of the track, it no longer is focused on his face. We've seen that one before. Remember Jose Soria's forehead?
I do remember Jose Soria's forehead quite well, actually.
Yeah, we saw a lot of it earlier this season. You can see, though, we are starting to see some separation, Lewis, as that's one driver down to pit lane. Cam Dance in the 111. Not sure if that's a strategic call, as Blaise Andrich and Luis Nunez, 19th position, losing the draft of those in front.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's going to be a particularly great strategic call, but then again, maybe it's coming in now, getting on some fresh tyres, trying to undercut the group, and then potentially going after a caution or something like that, where you can maybe jump off that strategy and kind of make some things work. Who knows? It's so hard to run a strategy around here. I mean, my time watching the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series and even doing IndyCar stuff myself, getting the strategy right in a 150 lap race is almost impossible. You can't get it right. You just do the strategy and it's either right or wrong by the time you get to the checkered flag. There's no real way of knowing right now.
And so Dance leaves in the Orbit drop bear car. Now, one thing that I did note is a lengthier pit stop than maybe normal, 13.7 seconds. So assuming a front wing change or something there for him.
Must have hit the wall on 4. You can see how high Javi Ross is going there. I think it is. He's just getting a huge amount of wash on the front, especially if you've been running in some fairly clean air and then you jump in straight behind someone. The grip difference is a joke, and it's why you'll see a lot of drivers taking completely different lines going through 1 and 2, and then of course at 3 and 4 you'll see those taking the high line. You do not want to take the same line as the car ahead of you. Problem is by the time you get into the corner, you've already kind of committed to the line that you're going to be on, and if you've committed to a higher line and the car ahead ends up committing to the higher line as well, you end up in the barrier.
What a description. And David Toth, Cam Dance, they both hit the wall. You described that, Lewis.
I'm good, mate. I am good. I've been here. It's because I've done so many races at Fontana in Michigan. I can promise you, I've hit every barrier around here, even the ones you didn't think were possible to hit. I've hit them. You've
hit every inch of the barrier as well. Specifically, is what you mean, right?
Absolutely. Honestly, all of it.
Yeah.
I've done quite a lot of races around here. I really enjoy Fontana.
No, and you've done it on a fair share of platforms as well, and so...
Actually, to be honest, I avoid it on other platforms other than iRacing. This is not me being an iRacing.
What's it called on other platforms? Apple City or something, isn't it?
Oh, Apple Valley.
Apple Valley, that's what it's called. Not Gobbler's Knob, that's for sure.
Phil Krause won it in the I can't remember what it was called, actually. One IndyCar thing that Cam Roger used to run.
Formula Sim Racing?
No, it was Formula Sim Racing, but it was like the Race Indy Pro. Whatever.
Oh, okay.
This was like peak COVID. There's a really good montage made by someone really cool of that season.
Okay, gotcha.
Just saying.
Trio of satellite racing cars, by the way, kind of working here together on Christian Steele as Simpson, Hilgard, and Russell. Outside side! Oh, and contact between the teammates. Hilgard gets rear-ended by Russell. Now there's front wing damage for sure on that 27. Does he come down to pit lane?
It kind of got to. You cannot survive round here without a front wing. If your front wing is damaged, if the right side of your car is damaged from hitting the wall or whatever, you've got to come down and you lose so much time. It may not feel like you lose that much time initially, but over the entirety of the stint, you lose so much because the tyres will just wear and wear and wear far more than they would do normally.
It's iRacing magics itself back on, though. You remember Jose Soria. He had the bad luck, didn't he, where he had the good luck where his front wing kept coming back on. Wonder if Alex Russell's had the same thing. Brendan Lichtenberg almost runs over Xavi Ross there.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it is easy to do, right? That is the important bit. It is very, very easy to do this whole tripping up over some of the other drivers that you're battling with. It only takes one mistake, and these things happen, so quickly. You got to remember these cars in a start-finish straight here. They're doing 360, 370 kilometers an hour, whatever that is in old money. I don't care. Metric is the unit for motorsport. I'm just going to stand by that one. I don't have to worry about being on the commentary team. It's fine.
No. We have decided the unit of measurement is metric here, so don't worry. You're on the right side of this discussion. Meanwhile, by the way, as we do, make our way closer and closer to that pit stop window, Chad Simpson around the outside of Christian Steele holding on, but now 1.2 seconds off the back of the front four. There's been a breakaway, and the three teammates joined by Jesper Orman. This could be an interesting fight heading off into the pit stop window.
Yeah, we did wonder if Chad Simpson was using quite a lot of the tyres to work his way through in the early stages of the race. We'll have to wonder if there's a couple of others that might be in that camp as well. Was Christian Steele? It's not Christian Steele, it's Phil Krause and it's just because of this check, it's fine, I'm blind. Phil Krause and Jeff Drake. Once again, they've been switching over all stint though. It must be something to do not only with fuel mileage but also with tyres.
It's the swap draft working very, very well clearly now as this race has stretched on out and they continue to do so. Meanwhile, Michael Romanidis, remember, he's making his way up into the top 10 in the championship quite well. There you can see tied with Pablo Espes right now. We'll go to the tiebreaker, which this live point system does not compute. So I wonder what the final tally will end up being. I don't think these points by any means done and dusted, except with one driver with now 34 laps complete, feeling pretty comfortable up front.
Yeah, I mean, look, Phil Krause is in an unbelievable position at the moment. Obviously has plenty of assistance as well, but he's just in a comfortable spot. And, it's almost at the point now, right, where to a certain degree, it's a little bit out of Phil Krause's hands. He's at the front of the field. There's nothing more he can do. And if he finishes up here, regardless of what happens, he's going to win the championship. But still, why would you have a headset around your neck? That's what I want to know.
That's what I'm wondering here. Does he have speakers and he just needs a microphone?
Surely, but that is that ain't it, Chief.
That is Jeff Drake, by the way, bottom left of your screen.
Yeah,
he's having to go hit a button to talk to his teammate as well. Look at that.
Yeah, he doesn't have one on his wheel. This is wild, and he's got an enormous chair. The things we learn by using people's cameras.
Isn't it great?
It's a little bit spotty, but that's fine. It's fine. Obviously, no, Jeff Drake. Fair enough. Chad Simpson might have been a little bit too high there, going through four. I don't think he hit the barrier. I'll have a look.
Yeah, that looked a little bit close for comfort. I mean, at the end of the day, Lewis, let's just go private eye here on RaceSpotTV. Once in a while, live on VCO Esports, we can sneak a peek behind this curtain.
Wow!
Now, who was oh my days! That's Hamilton Akabuizi, and that's surely going to be a caution.
Yeah, but it might have to be a manual one.
Might be able to roll it back around.
Yeah, because typically speaking, are they all automated cautions here, or do we have them manual from race control as well?
Race control could throw a caution, but I mean for this one, given that he's been able to roll it back around, no one's coming around, I think we'll get this one actually staying clean and green.
Yeah, normally if you're in an actual race by yourself, that isn't a caution, because the crash has happened away from the track, and with don't get me wrong, his race is done. Which he was kind of done in the area of the 10-second time penalty or whatever. But you can see a little bit of a swapper, and it just kept going. It's the second and third stabs there. He's keeping it pinned. He's trying to carry the speed out onto the backstretch, and a couple of easies just probably asked a little bit too much of the rear tyres. But because the crash has happened inside and well away from the track, we're still fine.
And because he was running at the basically front of the group that's trying to chase down your leaders, the gap's opened up slightly now as well. So, lap 39, we're into the pit stop window. So Akabuizi's crash actually timed somewhat nicely because everybody would have come down, and here come your leaders. So Phil Krause, Jeff Drake onto the box.
Yeah, it's like I say, could get a little bit busy here, but then to be fair, a lot of those drivers, like you say, like Phil Krause, like Jeff Drake, they're probably more jumping out of the train like early. Whilst we'll see probably everyone else coming in next lap, they're more just trying to let's get out of the group, get out of the chance of maybe finding themselves in this group. This could be their chance of actually breaking clear of the group as a duo.
Let's see if they can work together. Is the undercut or the overcut the play with these cars? Remember, they'll be light on fuel. Tail end of the shot, you can see Jesper Orman is coming into the pit lane, followed in by Christian Steele, but Josh Chin's gone long and he's now running by himself. So as off and away, Krause and his teammate Jeff Drake work after swapping positions. A very, very good pit stop window there from Phil Krause. They're going to rejoin. Yes, technically a lap down, but waiting for the rest of the field to come down to pit lane.
But what are the points now, Arjuna? What are the points now?
Do you want to know?
I'm just curious. It'd be funny, isn't it?
He's still in.
Oh, he's still winning comfortably. No one's shocked by this at all. That's how good Phil Krause has been this season.
It's been a great season from him, hasn't it? Top fives across the board, the one win as well.
And the thing is Costantini's been all right this season, but there's just been too many issues late on. Like, look at Road America, look at Belle. It's running fine, and then some front wing damage late on completely turns the entire race on its head. Romanidis here looking for a move. And of course, with Costantini, did get slightly compromised by the way the caution played out at Road America as well. Yeah, absolutely.
That was a turning point in the season, and we cannot forget about that as well. So, you know, going to be interesting going into the Pro Championship, exactly how things will sequence on out. Now, these drivers have gone long. Remember, there was a handful of drivers that came in during the caution period as well. They will cycle to the front, and we'll see what happens when it comes to the cycle of pit stops now, because Krause, Drake, Orman and Steele alongside one another having pitted. Still waiting to see if Josh Chin at the very front of the field will come down onto pit lane.
He is coming down this lap, is Josh Chin, because he's posted in chat, in game, I am having a pit.
It's a great pit message, isn't it?
That is up there as one of the best. Diogo Pinto's is so boring.
What's Diogo's?
Pitting in Diogo.
Oh, that is quite boring. Anyway.
So boring.
It is just Romanidis, Hilgard, Simpson, Mang, and Carey, Roseborough, and Lorenzo drivers that have yet to come down pit lane today. Michael Johnny, Blaze Andrich, Matt Taylor, Eduardo Leo, and Jaden Munoz are the drivers that are going to cycle forward once we finish up the cycle. There drops Chin. Lots of fuel needed to pack into that car, and now finally off and away he goes.
Yeah, obviously, you know, a lot of the people that have gone longer here, they would have pitted under the caution earlier on, which is why they can go further, because they took that extra bit of fuel in, which they would have been burnt out from the initial start of the race, from the warm-up lap, and from the first couple of laps under the caution. So that's why they've been able to go so much longer than the likes of Phil Krause and the likes. If you are a Phil Krause fan, don't worry too much.
There we go. Josh Chin slots his way back into the line just behind Christian Steele. So now as Hilgard and Lorenzo will be the final drivers to come down pit lane alongside Matt Taylor. Cycle things back around, and Michael Romanidis as he exits pit lane. Let's see where the Coanda driver that's had a pretty decent opening since going to find himself slotting in. Might be on the edge of the top 10. There comes Brendan Lichtenberg.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, we'll wait until everyone's out and they're up to speed, and we'll get a full understanding of the order. We'll say Jeff Drake has had a pretty poor outlap and a pretty poor restart of the stint, because he wasn't that far behind Phil Krause. Now finds himself, like 3 seconds behind? Oops.
Pit lane's not always a safe place.
Never is. It's arguably the most dangerous, isn't it?
Danny Lorenzo and Blaze Andrich are alongside. Is there contact, or is... Ooh. No, he just hits it. He hits the throttle or something by himself, and the back end comes around.
Yeah, I think it's like a tap of the brake to try and get, because obviously there is contact out there. That's really... That is... and this is no disrespect, because it is tough. That is a rookie error.
It's the type of error that you don't want to have happen at the end of the day, is it? And you are right, by the way, that Jeff Drake's had a poor pit cycle because he has emerged closer to Josh Chin, who went long, then to the two up front, who are now Phil Krause and Jesper Orman, and 1.7 seconds separates the top two. Lewis, we're about to hit 50 laps complete, and the breakaway starting to stretch their legs.
Yeah, but I will say, Josh Chin, to have gone late and to still be right up there, I think that's been a really impressive stint from Joshua Chin. Who obviously is in this battle with Christian Steele, who I think has made a lot of progress from pitting also. So, yeah, I mean, Christian Steele started this race from 18th position, but did pit earlier, which is where he's kind of maybe gone for a bit more of an undercut to try and get some of that fresh tyre usage. To be fair, I would suspect Josh Chin's going to fly past Christian Steele.
Might not take too long. By the way, talking of looking at backgrounds, that painting, Jesper Orman, Joey Tebben described Jesper as the conqueror last time we saw that.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, look, there's that, and there's a picture of Europe, a map of Europe. It's pretty suspect. It's pretty suspect.
The conqueror. It's a nickname. We're going to come up with nicknames for basically every driver at some point.
What's my nickname?
You.
Yeah, you have to think about that. But no, actually, don't
don't think about that.
You're going to say something really not for air.
Yeah, no. Well, the problem is, Lewis, you and I were about to spend a week together saying a lot of things that are not going to be for air.
What do you mean? No, we're going to be very well behaved, I'll have you know. Very well behaved. Look who's inside the top 10. Let's change the number very quickly. Yes. Look who's inside the top 10. Costantini, 10th place.
It's been a good recovery drive from him, let's be honest. 19 positions gained. 15 spots up for Steele as well, as some double-digit movers up in the top 10. Romanidis plus 12, and now we're seeing some fastest laps. Eduardo Leo stealing a couple of points.
Yeah, but obviously is quite far back. Currently sits in 17th position, so could be closing up to this train as Romanidis obviously near Costantini, so can provide a little bit of assistance to his Coanda teammates, but they've been passed by Alexander Russell, who I think probably would have tried to fix the front wing damage. Going to get double teamed though by Coanda.
And apparently for Alexander Russell, it was only a 9.4 second pit stop, so magically no front wing change needed. Jason Brophy has come down to pit lane. Remember, he had the penalty for the jump start at the very beginning of the race. Unfortunate for him, started second and was very much potentially a contender. Costantini, though, gets past Romanidis as well, and now 2 seconds the margin he's got to close up to Team i5G's Brendan Lichtenberg. Championship situation was pretty simple. All that Michele had to think about was winning. Krause, though, 8th or better. Romanidis is playing the team game here.
Yeah, indeed. Just trying to work a little bit as a group, but the problem for them is the 2 second margin now up to Brendan Lichtenberg ahead. The realistic problem with that is that when you're at the head of this group, you're receiving absolutely no slipstream whatsoever. So if Romanidis is really going to help, the only way that he can do it is by getting into second in this train, i.e. behind Costantini, and trying then to slow the train up, right, to allow Costantini to have some room to just run clean laps and not worry about where all the other cars are going to go. That said, they're just trying to play the slipstream games, switching up again and again, because it can be faster if you get it right, but it can be much slower if you get it wrong.
Like you say, got to be able to coordinate it effectively. Helps when I think you are teammates. Assume the two of them in a voice chat with the likes of Pash Gergis, Jorns Jens, giving them some fuel numbers and some of that information as well. Steele, Chin and Drake, they've closed up to the top two, and so now it's 5 at the front as they break away from Brendan Lichtenberg, who's in no man's land right now, with Romanidis and Costantini closing quickly. Lewis, there's a long way still left to go in this race. A long, long way to go.
Yeah, indeed. There's, like I say, so much time where if you sat here thinking about how, I'm in the top 5, this is going to be great. It can end very, very quickly. I mean, especially late on in the stint when the grip starts to fade, that's where you see that caution likelihood increase, especially late in the race when people are getting a little bit more pushy for positions. The percentage of likelihood of caution coming into the final moments of this race, especially towards the final pit stop, that's where it's going to increase dramatically. We are not done with seeing the pace car coming out yet. I mean, we've got through one green flag sequence, and that was great. And I do think we'll see another one, but we're not done. We're not done with cautions.
And I'm also willing to give some sort of an expectation guarantee that we might even see some more green flag pit stops, because we're getting towards the halfway point of the run, not far away from that marker, so starting to just get the laps flying on past. Now, Costantini, Romanides, they've worked together, and they are closing on Brendan Lichtenberg slowly but surely. Look off the back of the Hyperstar, and there are the cars coming on strong. Eduardo Leo, another fastest lap in the team red line, number 17.
Yeah, there clearly is some pace in that car. So not hanging around is Leo. Obviously, he's embroiled in quite a tight fight because he's around where Hilgard is, where Nunez is. So it's quite close in that grouping. So he's got a lot of slipstream to play with. But still, it's just impressive that they're setting fast lap times and it not really coming from this group, which sees Ullman now taking over the race lead.
Wonder if we're going to start seeing some traffic play its part at some point as well. See a couple of cars have lost some time through the window. Olivia Hayward and David Toth, they've broken off the back of Lucas Lodato, Cam Dance and Julian Otena. 21st on back, the final really pack that we have at this time, as Orman's going to lead at the line. Phil Kraus down in 4th position. And a lapped car in the mix as well. That's Adam State in the WSR Esports with butt kicker, number 18.
You reckon there's maybe even a light bit of fuel saving happening in this group? Because the thing is, the Zero was able to pull out a decent lead there before Josh Chin was able to close it back down again. Fair enough, it is what it is. But also, let's listen. Well, obviously you're not going to be lifting into corners anyway, so whatever. The reason why I say that, though, is less so because of the groups and the top grouping, and the gaps, rather. But it's more the gaps to, like, for example, Costantini, which was 7 seconds the last time I saw. It's 5.3 now.
So they are really working together well, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's maybe less swapping at the front, at least regularly. Costantini, Romanides doing it, basically every second at this point. So we'll keep an eye on the lap times as we continue to work. There's a look, though, at Danny Lorenzo down low, trying to battle with Chad Simpson. Now, remember, Simpson had that bit of contact, or rather, Russell had the contact with Hilgard. Now, both of them haven't lost too much ground as a result of that. Hilgard's still inside of the top 15 or so. A long way left to go in this race, and Lewis said at the start, just be there at the end of this race. Final 10 laps is where it's really going to count. That has never been more true. Now with 59 laps complete, Eduardo Leo, he was telling me he was going to be down the back. He's up in 15th now and trying to fight to the inside of the 31. Yeah, indeed. So just making a little bit of progress bit by bit, just working your way forward, one lap at a time. That's the important bit. You've got to take it one lap, one position, one corner at a time, and do not worry too much about it. As like I say, it's so easy for you to try and maybe bite off more than you can chew. As Hilgard's going to drop back behind Leia here, although the move's not done yet. Oh my goodness! Oh, and now that's a bit more damage to the 31. Definitely going to have grazed the right side pod, and the left front wing is confirmed as missing this time around. Well, I was saying he was having a great season, and his chances of a top 5 in the championship, Lewis, are they unraveling right now? Yeah, now what are the implications on that for Eduardo Leo? Because he was on the inside and just got really, really tight. Did race control step in for those? They can, absolutely. I get the feeling they might. See what happens. Eduardo Leo, that might see him have to drop down to pit lane for some sort of a penalty. Hilgard, though, as it stands, can score no fewer than 5 points. Might still have a top 6 or so on the cars. Let's see how that will all shake out as we head closer and closer to the end of this season. And Lewis, plenty more to come in the world of VCO Esports later on this year, including VCO LFM Infinity, September, not far away. Yeah, indeed, it's crazy. I hate that, by the way. Not VCO LFM September's Infinity. Not far away. I got you. I hate the fact that September is like 2 weeks away. Out of context, Lewis is now in trouble on VCO. Florian, I love you. Please, please don't fire me. Oh dear. Okay, I'm gone. You're gone. It's okay. Super GT is in on the Friday to host what is a very special VCO Infinity edition. I partnered up with Low Fuel Motorsport on Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's going to be quite intriguing how that's all going to play on out. Christian Steele tried to slide the job on Jeff Drake. Didn't really work out. What does Phil Kraus do? Just says, give me some more draft up front. Lap 64 of 150. 50 minutes of racing still left to go. Goodness me, I've just seen Eduardo Leo. I mean, I'm starting to understand why he was setting fastest lap after fastest lap earlier on in this race. That car is now tight.
nearly absolutely clobbered the side of Michael Janney as well. So I do think that Eduardo Leo, whilst done such a good job working forward in this stint, maybe thinking about even pitting. I'm not joking, like not that far away. It was fair, we're not that far away from pit stops generally anyway, but his front right is toast.
Tell you what, let's jump on board with him. That's not Eduardo Leo. This is Eduardo Leo.
Let's see.
Oh, that car in front of him is not looking much better. Luis Nunez, big step there.
Oh, I'm not going to lie, I think we both got a little nervous there if we'd jumped on board at the wrong time. Really tight line here for T1 and 2. This is what caused the incident between he and Hilgard earlier on. Let's see how tight he gets. Jumps up the lane, up 1, up 2, up 3, up 4, into the barrier.
And that's the problem. It's kicked off behind him. Michael Janney slams into the inside wall. Pinto slides his way on through. Nunez is slow. Caution is out.
Just as Costantini got towards 6th position as well, so that move's just happened. This could be big for the championship, at least his neck of the woods, and I think he's going to have to get it back to Romanidis just because of when the caution came out. Can I just say that going into turn 1, I was saying about how tight that car was looking, that was arguably one of the most predictable crashes I have ever seen.
I mean, you were calling it. You called it. I'll give you the credit there, Lewis. That's not a commentator's curse. That's the commentator prediction.
It's just, whoa. It's just, if your car is that tight, you can't take that inside line. What's the point in making it 3 wide there?
Right, so Michael Janney's the one that's got the face full of dirty air. He hits the wall.
Yeah.
Luis Nunez, I mean, that's a broken left, right rear, whichever one it was.
Yeah, I mean, the crash behind, that is definitely not Eduardo Leo's fault, right? That's just a crash. It's a racing incident. They're all up in the barrier. I mean, look, they're all basically hitting at this point. But it's just like, Leo hit the barrier, right? Because you're taking that super tight line, and there might be some damage of repair. Hopefully they can get it fixed, but if there's suspension damage, they're not going to be able to, as basically everyone comes down to pit road.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anyone to try and do anything wild here. It is logical that you'd want to come in nearing the halfway mark of this race. Second caution of the day, not the second crash of the day, though, by any means. Remember, Carbowiese also DNF alongside Wilson Nadeau, Jacob Oser and Blaze Andrich. The 35 starters now whittled down to what seemingly might be 27 on the lead lap after a couple get a lap back. Race off of pit lane. Chin versus Kraus. It goes the way of the 93. Kraus slots into second, Orman third, and then Jeff Drake fourth. Those starting spots for Kraus, really important. Remember, he was at the back of the pack initially, but leapfrogs his way back to the front.
I think a little jab of the brakes late on from Romanidis as well allows Costantini to actually take 6th position. That's a little bit ominous to see the 66 in 6th, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you believe in the commentator's curse, that might be making you feel a little bit unsettled right now. That's fine. But I will say, again, I was keeping my eye on the pit stop time for Eduardo Leo. No different. Absolutely fine. That I think he's got away with. I think he's absolutely got away with that. Because he did hit the wall.
How? That's all I have to say. That is quite remarkable. Last pit stop times popped up on the left side of your screen for a moment. So, let's talk championship once again, shall we? Remember, it's quite simple when it comes to Phil Krause's mindset after grabbing pole. 8th or higher. It's really, though, Costantini who's worked his way back from 9th position or something, up through the field, and now very much in contention for a race win.
I think it's been an incredible opener to the race for Costantini, and also the important bit now, because of when this caution's come out, and the fact that everyone's come in, they've got a fresh set of tyres on, they've got themselves fueled up, which means that at this moment, outside of potential damage that we don't know, everything is equal, which means that Costantini has put himself back in contention for the championship after an excellent opening stint. Now, we shouldn't really be shocked knowing his track record, but it is still an impressive stint.
100%. And it really gets me excited as well, knowing that the Pro Series, Lewis, it's a 10-round championship, 6 road courses, 4 ovals, and as Diogo Pinto has said in interviews in the past, there's going to be no hiding. So the likes of Team Redline, you know, that car that's struggling, when you compare it to the balance that Coanda seem to have on the ovals, the pace that, you know, Phil Krause has brought over the course of the season, this IndyCar season has been IndyCar summer has been great, and it will continue for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it is good to have this position on iRacing again with all the Indy cars bouncing their way around. It's a lot of fun to see, and like I say, got an exciting little future ahead. Got an exciting future very few seconds away as the race is about to get back underway, Arjuna.
And so let's turn up the sound of the engine. 69 laps about to be complete. That's nice. Let's see what can happen up front. Private label team hype 1 and 2. With Jesper Orman, Jeff Drake, Christian Steele now joined by Costantini and Romanidis. It's going to be a hold from your leader. And now, punch the throttle, and a great jump. Orman caught slightly off guard. Can Jeff Drake take advantage as they launch off to turn 1? It's a tidy start for the most part. No one really trying to make some moves at the front of the field. There goes Drake trying to commit the long way around. Krause and Ching going to try and swap back and forth. I think establishing a margin at the start of this stint, important for the teammates.
Yeah, but I think also, you know, making sure that you're looking after your tyres a lot. Though I think that some of these drivers might be expecting a caution pretty early, as we'll see once again switch for the race lead. Josh Chin gets to the inside going down into 1 and 2. You can take that tight line nice and early on because you've got the grip to deal with it. Runs up quite close to the barrier. Jeff Drake's quite close as well. But you can take those lines this early in the stint. Jeff Drake might be sweeping his way past. Phil Krause, and he's going to have to take the super high line here to try and carry the speed out onto the start finish, but I think he's just looking after tyres right now.
I think you're right, just thinking about what the remainder of this race still has left to play. We're not even halfway through, let's not forget. There goes Drake down low. Can his number 69 machine slide his way to the lead? He's going to have to get a new paint scheme, by the way. We said he was going to get a new one for this season. Didn't get that in time. Has a chance of qualifying for the Pro Series. He's Danny Lorenzo. We were riding on board with him. Fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, you got to have a livery on. This car, I still maintain, is one of the best looking cars. I've always really liked this car.
Looks like a jet fighter.
You got to have a livery on it. Otherwise, it looks boring. When this car was new, I didn't even drive it that much. I just made a livery on it for the first 2 days. I had a great time. I had a horrible time. I had a great time.
It was a stressful time, I'll put it that way, stitching everything together. Yeah. It's funny you talk about liveries though. Thursday, Bobby Zelensky, we had 3 Coanda drivers, 2 of them with liveries. Bobby Zelensky had the iRacing default. Oh. And you know what the Coanda IndyCar default looks like? I'll send you a picture afterwards. It's not very nice.
I would like a picture of that. Yeah, they do. Was it pure purple with a little bit of orange highlights? Because that's typically.
I think that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah, it's bad. Speaking of Coanda and things not going so well, was Costantini drops back a couple of positions because Alexander Russell's just fired one down the inside, not only of Costantini but also of Steele.
And now switches it back. Where does Costantini go? Take his momentum and bleeds off the throttle, and now slides it into the middle, trying to find some clean air. Some big moves being made, that's for sure. Oscar Mangan's lost a whole bunch of spots this most recent lap around. Remember that the conditions, we expect them to get more packy, though, as the race goes on. And so, it's down to 44 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's, like I say, just dropping off a little bit. Nothing too major, but still it is dropping back just a touch. But I don't know. I don't know how much that's actually going to come down, more from here. Halfway through the race, it's dropped down, like 5 degrees since the start of the race, 4 or 5 degrees since the start of the race. And I don't know how much more is going to drop back from there. But alas, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We've still got half of the race left to deal because halfway is done.
And now on board with Alex Russell. You were saying maybe expect an early caution on this restart. The way they're racing, would not be surprised if that is what many of them were indeed thinking about, because you could split 24 cars by 4 seconds right now. That's quite crazy about how close to one another they run. 74 laps left to go at the line. And once again, championship situation. Top 10, all in the prize money. Michael Gianni currently just about holding on to 10th position. Christian Hillgard just about holding on to 6th even after all the struggles today.
Yeah, and the BS competition there of Daniel Alves Lorenzo was just about holding on to the track, nearly touched the apron with the left side tyres as well. We ride on board with him now, and you can stare forward to see Josh Chin going to get dropped back a little bit, using a lot of speed at the moment, a lot of tyres. I can see this car dropping backwards as the stint rolls on if he's not careful, just by using far too much of the tyres. Look at how far back Phil Krause has dropped to 9th position. This is the race we thought it might be if they weren't careful. It is a pack race, and so this is all about patience. 10 cars separated by 1 second over the line.
And I mean, that shot from Barney's perspective showed it all. There was some 3 wide thrown into the mix there. And if you're Krause, I think they're just trying to drop back and stay out of trouble. But remember, if Costantini can get to the front, as it stands right now, he would also need to grab some bonus points. But there's a situation in which there is a championship heading the way of Kawanda rather than to the private label Team Hype contingent. And it's a championship as well that, knowing how that last round at Road America went for Costantini, he came here knowing it was all basically up against the wall for him. Now Chin alongside of his teammate Krause. What can they do just on the outskirts of the top 10?
Yeah, like I say, I mean, look, for Phil Krause right now, the worst thing to do is to worry about where Costantini is and where Eduardo Leo is, because Leo's just behind him, literally just behind him. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Worry about your own race. Worry about your own tyres. Worry about your own strategy. Play the cards the way you know you've been. The thing is, though, is by looking after your tyres, when you're in the middle of the pack, sometimes you can feel like you're looking after your tyres really, really well, but you're actually not, because you're in the dirty air. The best place to be to look after the tyres, right at the front of the field.
And fuel saving, I think that might be something as well that's starting to creep into the mindset for the drivers. It's now 24 cars covered by 3 seconds, by the way, so we've managed to compress them by about 25 or so percent. My word, Alex Russell's going to lead. And remember, there are 2 bonus points for leading the most laps, and we've only just crossed half race distance. There was a lot of swapping initially, so I'm not quite sure who's got the 2 bonus points. Might be, Jeff Drake's in the mix. Probably Phil Krause is the main contender, if we're being realistic. There's all sorts of things still left to play out. And Lewis, this is why oval racing, much like road course racing with the IndyCar, is so different, right? Compare this to Iowa. Compare Belle Isle to Road America.
Yeah, it's what I've always said. If there was any championship in the world that I could commentate on for the rest of my career, it would be IndyCar, because every race is completely different. This is an example of that. It is so different to the races that we had at Belle Isle, the race that we had at Road America, the race that we had at Iowa. They're completely different. And yeah, sure, we see the same drivers competing for it. The likes of Phil Krause, the likes of Eduardo Leo, the likes of Michele Costantini. Like, sure, we're seeing those competing for it. But it's just how the strategy works. This, again, remaining patience is king on most races. Like, we know that patience is king in this sport generally, whether it is in sim racing or in motorsport. But still, remaining patient at a time like this, when there is that temptation to take it 3 wide, when there is the temptation to do something maybe a little bit silly, it is tough. It's frustrating. And
Diogo Pinto's learning a lot here. Has to go down to 4th gear. He's lost so much momentum there. Goes Cam Dante and Brandon Roseborough around the outside. Now, this is a trial by fire in many ways, isn't this? And you know who else in the Team Redline camp does love a cheeky bit of IndyCar once in a while?
Max Verstappen.
He does,
Does he? Yeah, no, to be fair, I think I've seen him do some IndyCar stuff. That makes sense.
Mostly oval as well. So
yeah.
If you ever see a Verstappen in an Indy fixed race, you might just be racing against a multi-time Formula One world champion. Also, let's be honest, one of the better sim racers in the world as well.
Yeah, I know another Redline. I'm sure he's still Redline, isn't he? Shane Van Gisbergen. He likes a good oval.
True.
And I distinctly remember in 2015 him getting a little bit vocal in chat after an incident at Daytona. But that's fine. Love Shane. It's fine.
Scott McLaughlin technically has won a top split iRacing Indy 500, so we've got plenty of those drivers. Alex Palou, he likes a bit of IndyCar once in a while. There was that time that Verstappen and Palou shared a car.
Is there?
Yeah, do you not remember that?
Oh, I don't remember anything, mate.
That was cool. IndyCar world champion.
I was going to say, the what, sorry?
Yeah, no, I caught myself there. We need to get them somewhere international, though. Well, 2 countries, Lewis. They go to Canada.
Doesn't count, does it?
It's 2 countries. International.
Yeah, international, not world, is it?
No, that is very true. But that was a cool story. Oh, Danny Lorenzo, is he starting to struggle now? We're about 20 laps away from those drivers coming down pit lane, and Christian Steele's got to the inside. 86 laps or so complete. Yeah,
indeed. So once again, holding these tight lines going through 3 and 4. You want to take that like a middle line going in, especially into 3 and 4, a middle line going in, then bring it down to the low line if you're going to do it, because you kind of avoid washing up so much. But obviously you've got to be careful that you don't overcommit on entry, because then you end up in the wall anyway. But especially when it's a big pack like this, as we ride on board with Michael Romanidis, staring at the back of Daniel Alves Lorenzo, who's also just dropping in behind Eduardo Leo. A couple of bits of side-by-side ahead. That's obviously Christian Steele getting past into 3rd place.
If you ever wondered if they're fuel saving, the fact that Steele has gone from 7th to 1st in about 1 lap's time, I think tells you all you need to know. Last time by, 33.412. Fastest laps of this race, 32.7. We are trying to go as long as possible on the fuel tanks.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, we're playing a very different game as to what we were playing at the first couple of laps. Like I said, there is a little bit of fuel saving going on, which we were kind of seeing a little bit on the previous stint anyway. It's why the groupings were closing up. Just looking after the fuel number, thinking about the length of this race. Christian Steele, though, at the front, maybe aiming to avoid the dramas of the ISO WC race around here.
And again, I go back to that. He probably wins the race if there wasn't that little bit of contact between him and Valtteri Alander. He's here for some payback.
Yeah, Valtteri Alander's not, though, because he's a wimp.
No, Valtteri Alander's off in Japan.
Did you ask him?
Yeah, I asked him. I tried. I said he's off studying for a year in Japan. I was like, we can try and find you a rig in Tokyo. Kevin Burrell, who's not here today for the final round of the championship, but he's also in Japan. But no, we unfortunately we did not get a Valtteri appearance.
That's a shame. I've got some mates going to Japan as well. We're not, though. But it's Japan.
Should we go and play golf there?
In Japan?
Fuji, we know there's plenty of golf courses there.
You know how long I've been warned by how long a round of golf is in Japan.
How long?
They ain't sure. Oh, I've been told they're much longer than they are for what we normally play. They're like, you're talking like 5-6 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly that response.
Yeah, I'm gonna
half an hour a hole. Absolutely not.
I'm gonna say a no to that one. Thank you very much, but maybe we need to scan some Japanese golf courses into
Golf Plus, eh?
Into whatever golf game you can choose here, whether it's in virtual reality or not. Highly recommend, by the way, VR Golf. It's great.
We're just advertising random stuff on this.
I never said which VR Golf. I just said VR Golf is great.
No, that's fine. That is fine.
Hey, I was playing VR mini golf with my teammates as well.
It's not as fun though, is it?
No, it's a different type of fun. Though,
exactly.
I was pretty terrible. I'm terrible at both, so, actually. Sorry.
I was 12 under on the old course the other day. Anyway.
12 under? I don't believe you on that one.
Mate, I think my record's 14 on it.
That is something that you and we would never be able to achieve in the real world.
Why not?
Let's be honest. Golf sims don't translate, or golf VR sims don't translate like sim racing does to real racing.
No, I played around the golf this morning. I was awful. But if you're quick in the sim, then generally speaking, actually, if you do kind of the same things, you actually be pretty quick in a real car as well. There's plenty of examples of that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was implying, and I'm going to be curious. A couple of these drivers, they'll go racing later this year in the Prodigy 3 Championship. Eduardo Leo, Gustavo Ariel, and Michael Rodriguez all included in that mix. So it's going to be exciting to see how they get on. First round building later on this year.
Christian Steele a bit too low there for my liking into 3. Almost clipped the apron with the left side wheels. Got to be really careful of that, because you'll go for a little bit of a crash if that happens, and you'll probably take the entire pack with you. Jeff Drake back to the front. Let's say a couple of switches. The reason why we're just chatting like podcast mode is because all the switches at the moment
mean nothing.
They don't matter. This is about fuel saving, track position, and time management. It is the same in a sense as to what you'd see in an endurance race or a GT race, where as much as you're all single file when you're doing that, it's still the same thing. You're just switching positions here. It's much more exciting to look at, but it's still just calm. This is calm.
You know, I think it's probably more calm the further back in line you are. Look at, like, for example, Lucas Lodato, who we can jump on board with now in the Nexus Esport with Bearcat Motorsports number 30. He's up 12 positions from where he started, just keeping it nice and tidy at the back, out of trouble. He's got Christian Hillgard and Diogo Pinto behind him, so, you know, by no means is he struggling right now. We have started to stretch out, though, at somewhat now. So the 24 cars at one point separated by 3 seconds, make that 5 now.
Yeah, he knew he was going to be on camera and being judged by us, didn't he?
Yeah, the glaucoma background, as Joey Tevin says it.
Yeah, he knew he was going to get spied on. That's fine. Back on board with Eduardo Leo. Ooh, there's a little moment there, just once again getting a little bit tight. Please, he's not Kevin Harvick. Please get off the bottom line.
At this point in the run, we are seeing the sun somewhat set as well, right? That tinge of orange, or maybe that's cloud cover as well.
I think it's cloud cover.
Is it cloud cover? So, ooh, there you go. Track temperature dropped a little bit more. We go 3 wide up the front. Here comes Costantini. He's held back long enough and saved maybe enough fuel as well. If you can go 45 or so laps fuel saving, we're not far away from making it towards pit stops underway. And so now, what does the championship look like as the 66 takes the lead?
Yeah, Romanidis was getting a little bit sketchy there as well. Christian Steele straight back to the inside. Like I say, this is being turned up bit by bit. The champ is getting closer and closer. Phil Krause in 5th spot, though, is good enough regardless as to what Costantini does. Remember, top 8 required for Phil Krause now. But this is where things get a little bit nervous. If you can't just back off in this, right? If you lift, you're 3 wide, exactly like what Phil Krause is right now.
And that is the move of a driver that knows the championship is on the line. Jeff Drake's got no momentum. He's going to slot back, and was there slow drivers down low, Danny Lorenzo included. It's caution out right on the edge of the pit stop window.
Yeah, there was contact. You'll see it on a replay in a second because I know the broadcast director obviously will be right over it. Josh Chin was on the outside of Daniel Alves Lorenzo and Eduardo Leo. They were 3 wide going out into the backstretch, and it was just a little bit too tight. Watch this then. So Alves Lorenzo in the middle of the screen. You've got Josh Chin on the high side. You've got Eduardo Leo on the low side. It's all pretty narrow. As Eduardo Leo moves over and makes contact a little bit there, you've got to say.
That's clumsy. That's a little bit silly. We'll take another look on board with the 17, and the only repeat winner in the VCO IndyCar Challenge. Lots of big sliding, and clumsy bit of contact there.
I think so. What he's doing there is he's keeping his eye on the cars around him. This is what happens at like Daytona and the likes. If you keep if you're bump drafting and you're only looking at the car ahead and you're not looking at what's at the road itself, that's where you have these really aggressive wobbles, and that's what it looked like happened with Eduardo Leo. Just was too busy looking at the cars and not necessarily the road and where he was and the trajectory of the car, and just moved back over into the side of Daniel Alves Lorenzo, causing that absolute mammoth of a crash.
Well, and so everyone is expected down to pit lane, but this is right on the edge of the window. This is about as difficult as it gets, I think, in terms of fuel saving. Some cautions along the way would definitely help. But you've got to execute now on the lane.
The thing is, you lose so much time from pitting fuel and tyres. In 50 laps, could you do a 25-lap sprint, pit, fuel, tyres, 25-lap stint, see the checkered flag? Will that be faster than just trying to fuel save, than finding the pack, than sitting in it, than being careful, being thoughtful, being patient? Which one is quicker? And the thing is like you say, if this caution had come out in 10 laps time, we wouldn't be having that discussion. We'd be talking about them going to the checkered flag. But with it coming out now, there's a few more questions up in the air about it. What is actually possible in this car? And we're about to find out.
I'm getting excited. I'm also getting stressed right now because 3 cautions so far. Cautions breed cautions. It could start to get a little bit more tetchy from here. Ooh, I think this is going to be fun, especially knowing, guess what? Costantini, he's up front. Krause directly behind. And the point situation did show Costantini has got 0 bonus points right now. Not a fastest lap, of course, no pole position, and doesn't really have a chance to grab the most laps led. I think Krause has just got to grab a top 10 here, Lewis. I don't know exactly what it means, but it might be that simple.
Yeah, indeed. And to be fair, I think if you want to be safe if you're in Krause's boots, you want to just focus on staying inside, to be fair, the top 5. Just try and keep that. This is not about winning the race with Phil Krause. I don't. Obviously, he'll want to win the race because you want to finish the season in the highest possible standing. But realistically speaking for Krause, this is not about winning the race. This is about winning the championship. This is about the big prize. This is about focusing on that side of things. And that's way more important than a race victory here.
As you would expect, incident under investigation. Eduardo Leo probably going to have some sort of a penalty as both Javi Ross and Adam State, they get a lap back and cycle back around to the tail end of the leading lap. So 24 scored behind Michele Costantini. It does mean, though, that for both those cars, they definitely have to make another pit stop. What's the rest of the field thinking in mind? And, well, if we were doing, 33 fours before, Lewis, I'm expecting maybe 34 second lap times now.
Yeah, I think we're going to be slowing things down. The biggest shock I have ever seen has just happened.
Oh, did Eduardo Leo get a drive-through penalty?
He might have received a penalty. There may be a penalty. I think even he'll be like, yeah, that's fair. That it is what it is. It is what it is. And unfortunately for Redline, that is their chance of grabbing a title. Completely gone. It was pretty slim anyway for Eduardo Leo, but it's completely gone now. And we are looking at a two-horse race between Costantini and between Phil Krause. Who's going to come out on top in 50 laps time?
There is the confirmation of the penalty for the incident that brought the caution back out. We've got 49 laps left to go. This is going to be right on the edge of the fuel window. Can someone pull some magic? We're about to find out. It's Costantini and Krause, the championship rivals up front, ready to bring the action underway. And as they stretch themselves out, remember the team games that before the Power Slide and Private Label Team Hype crew members were able to coordinate, thrown out the window now. A little bit more everyman for themselves as they cycle out of turn 2. And Lewis expecting now potentially some drivers further back to try and make some moves.
Yeah, does Phil Krause go straight for the race lead? Answer the question, absolutely. So Phil Krause back to the front. Costantini now down into second. High line coming in from Jesper Ullmann. Just probably driving it a little bit too hard there into 3 and 4, allowing Jeff Drake to sneak his way past. As, like I say, Christian Steele's now moving his way back up into the mix. So moves up now into second position. You've still got to be patient. You're looking after fuel and tyres here. But who's not? Who's just going out in this guns blazing knowing that they can't make 50 laps on a tank?
Let's see what happens lap time wise next time by at the stripe. Steele's going to dive down low and try and just slingshot his way back to the point. He'll lead at the end of the lap, of course, but watch the laps tick away. And more importantly, let's think about that strategy. Lap time, 32.789. No fuel saving at least just yet.
No, I think 50 laps might be too far. I think they're just going for it. I think they are just going for it to see what happens. But then jumping through the middle of the pack, Costantini's going backwards. He's had Jeff Drake move past the inside. He's had Ullmann move around the outsiders, coming straight out of pit lane. Who's that? Oh yeah, Eduardo Leo. Just that's fine. Just a little bit of drama in it.
Serving as penalty. I wonder if this is the fuel save from Costantini and Coanda. Have they decided it's worth trying something different? Is that maybe the mindset? Look at how they're moving in front. He might be using the fuel map here, Lewis, bumping it down in terms of efficiency in the engine to really maximize the mileage.
I don't blame him. I actually like it. I mean, whether it's going to work or not, it doesn't really matter. The idea of trying to turn this into a fuel mileage race, of playing this card. The thing is, if you play this card of fuel saving, you have to play it now. You can't react on this in 15 laps time and go, oh, actually, no, do you know what? I think maybe let's just go for it. No, you need to do it right from the start of the stint. Every single lap matters. Every drop of fuel needs to have intention behind it. And that is what Coanda require here for Michele Costantini to potentially go after the race victory. And, hey, maybe even bring in the drama of a championship as well. You just don't know how it's going to unfold. Remember, he needs to win this race. And Phil Krause, basically, let's just play it simple, needs to be outside of the top 10.
I think it is basically as simple as that at this stage. Wow. Those numbers on the left show a lot. Steele plus 16, Costantini's plus 23. 4 drivers inside of the top 10 had double-digit gains. Of course, the big losers, the retirees, Michael Johnny, Luis Nunez, Hamilton Akabuizi, Wilson Nato, Jacob Oster, and Blaise Andrich, joined, of course, by Danny Lorenzo and Josh Chin, the most recent caution of the race. Now, Lewis, when it comes to the final stages of this race, let's say that we are going to get either a pit stop or a caution and it resets the race at some point. At what point do you think the point of no return really is for the drivers? When do you really commit to some big sends up front?
I don't know. I think you have to, like, whatever strategy you're on, you've got to commit early. If you are committing to big sends, if you are committing to really racing for it, then now. Right?
Now?
Yeah, if you are committing to those big sends, go for it. Like, you want to be at the front. You want to be pushing the car. You want to be running a pace which is too fast for those that are trying the fuel save, which at the moment I don't think we're at, because if Costantini is doing the fuel save, he's still sitting in 6th position pretty handily.
Yep, he's, I think, working quite well. Let's see if we can jump back on board and just watch out of the corner how the speed runs. Is he pulling closer? Is he getting dropped by those in front? It's holding about steady, I'd argue now.
Yeah, it's about even. Like I say, I don't know if he is running a fuel number at the moment, or maybe this is just looking after the tyres so we can go on the attack later on. We don't fully know as to what the strategy is right now, but my gut feeling is 50 laps, well, 49 really, or 48, however many it was, is too many. If you're fuel saving that, it is noticeable, i.e. you're dropping straight through the back of the pack.
And speaking of, there is a second grouping that has dropped off the back of the lead. And so that's Adam State, Olivia Hayward, and Xavi Ross. Xavi Ross, by the way, on the lead lap once again. So being able to fight his way back into contention after an early penalty. As the Prismatic Motorsport number 72 making the move on the World Sim Racing car. Turn 3, slide their way through the corner and up the track. And let's see how they can try and close potentially to the back of these leaders who, again, 33.093. I wonder if now we're starting to see some fuel saving, because Steele did a 33.379. That's again going back to what they were doing in that previous run just before the caution. Yeah,
indeed. I say this is such a fascinating race. You know, not just because of the championship. Now, this is fascinating for any strategy. You got potentially a couple of different strategies here. It is wide open. You don't really know where the advantage lays, and with 40 laps left to go, we don't have a clear and obvious ruling as to what's actually going to happen, and part of that is because of a late caution. I do believe, sorry to be that guy.
Oh, come on.
I would actually, do you know what? I would actually really like for this to run green, because I'm very curious as to how this is going to be. I think we're getting a caution.
Oh, okay.
I don't see us getting to the end without a caution. I would love for us to go green to the end.
I was loving what you were saying until I wasn't loving what you were saying.
No worries. Well, we'll go for a hike up in up in the stretch. Let's go with that, shall we? Couple of good places to go sightseeing up there, apparently.
Yeah, no, if you want, there's some hikes around the track. I've heard Gobbler's Knob is apparently one of the best ones. 41 degrees Celsius on the track itself, though, Lewis. It is starting to cool off.
Who knew that there was, like you say, Gobbler's Knob? There's Scotland up in the mountains as well.
Nice.
There's everything up there. I'm sure there's a golf course. But clearly a lot of my favourite places. Anyway, 38 laps left to go, 37 obviously at the line, and Alex Russell at the front of the field by a couple of tenths.
Yeah, I think we are again settling back into a bit more of the fuel mileage rhythm. Might just be, though, for drivers trying to extend the run to try and put in as little fuel as possible. Because, Lewis, one thing I'm considering, right, is if you could go as much as 44, 45 with a fuel save, and we had, 49 to go, surely you're not going to take tyres. 4 laps, remember.
Yeah, I don't know. Surely not, but then I'd want to take advantage of fresh tyres, but then I just don't know. I don't know what way that the best strategy is here. Surely, again, if you were that close, then maybe you can do you can no stop to the end of it from where we restarted. But it's kind of like, that sounds really simple. Oh, it's just an extra 5 laps. 5 laps is a long way. That's an extra 10 miles just to save fuel. It's not as if you're driving, on the motorway and you can just drive around and cruise at a low speed, try and get a little bit extra fuel mileage. You're still bombing it around a circuit at 360k.
You sound like another Lewis. Bono my tyres.
There is a little bit of that.
There's a little bit of that, isn't there? Alex Russell, Matt Taylor on your screen, now leading up front. First time that we've seen the MadWorks number 70 up front, but we did see Russell leading some laps, of course, in the previous fuel mileage stint that we had. Some communication there going on for Russell to the rest of the team, and virtual reality for Matt Taylor, one of a handful of drivers to be in VR as well. Lewis, sweaty, I think, is how I describe people in VR after this race.
Yeah, I've done an oval race, done one oval race in VR, and I said to myself I would never ever do it again.
Really, was it that bad?
It's hot. It is sweaty. It is really difficult, and it's just it's so tough to deal with in all of that. I thought there might have been a connection problem, but there is a bit of a connection problem. Who's having connection problems at the front? It is Russell.
Oh, yes. So just ignore the blips potentially on the timing screen, but remember, if his connection doesn't stabilize, race control might ask him to pull off the track. And yeah, that is really sending the timing screen for a loop. There's Brian Carey, Cam Dance, as Russell drops back out of the pack.
Yeah, I think Russell might be trying to bite the bullet here, but look, not even getting in. So this is really dangerous. Race control will probably be jumping straight on this to be like, look, Stozzles, but you need to jump out of the way here, Chief. This is dangerous.
He's trying his best to just stay high and out of the way, but it's an unfortunate situation to be in, really running strong and no fault of your own, having to drop back through the pack.
Yeah, someone else in the house is clearly using the internet. I mean, you know, it's getting late in the evening for some, so you know, maybe it's Netflix o'clock. Who knows? Race control has just again noted to Russell that the connection is poor and that they are monitoring. I will say Russell's done the right thing here. Drop to the rear of the pack, sits in the slipstream, no danger to anyone else. Now he's just going to cruise around, try and keep up in the slipstream, keep up with the pack, and play that card.
Did it proactively as well, right? That's what you really like to see. Has not lost the tail end of the pack as well, right? So could still, assuming that internet settles down, 30 to go next time by, have a chance of carving his way forward. And it is clear, remember, we saw Chad Simpson and the other satellite racing car running quite strong early in the race. They've brought a decent machine with them. Costantini, though, on the outside, trying to hold off the number 42 as we cycle our way into the closing stages. If we don't see the caution, which I think both Lewis and myself are not expecting, it's only about 16 minutes of racing left to go. And as it stands right now, Phil Krause would be the 2024 VCO IndyCar Challenge champion.
Yeah, indeed, right in position for it, still outscoring Costantini, which, again, the only time, as I've said before, the only time that Costantini is a little scraped to the barrier in the background, that's a bit scary, the only time that Costantini has outscored Phil Krause this year, the only race that he did was the race that he won. Please make your bed.
Always have to make your bed if you're going to be on a broadcast. Otherwise, Lewis is going to complain. I will also say he's got his biggest fan in the background too.
And I'm not a fan of that. Anyway.
What a pun that was. Lewis McLeod, so punny.
Thank you. I've worked hard. I've worked hard for this.
You've worked hard to get where you are.
I was the first two-time VCO Simi Award winner. So
it's true.
Fine.
It's true.
Ooh, big looks.
Now, that also for a second looked like a bit of internet issues, but I'm wondering if that was just for a very brief moment. Adam State and Jason Brophy, by the way, have had to come down to pit lane already.
Goodness.
And so just keep that in mind. We are knowing that some of these drivers will have to pit, and Alex Russell's going to do so now. Yeah,
he's had been told by race control. Race control have said, look, the connection's not stabilised, so you've got to return to pit lane. Even though he was at the back of the pack, the rule is the rule. Whether you're at the back of the pack or whatever, it doesn't matter. The rule is the rule. If your connection isn't stabilised and you aren't safe on the racetrack, whether you're ahead of everyone, behind or whatever. And so that is a big shame because Russell looked really quick today. But yeah, straight into the pit lane. Race control said it's basically a black and orange flag. That's a meatball.
It's a technical thing at the end of the day. You can't control it, much like in the real world. You can't control much as well. So we've got Julian Oltena running around the outside. He was the driver that Lewis told to go make his bed. Tell you what, he's now up in a podium's position because Brendan Lichtenberg has cycled in front of Matt Taylor. 33.2 last time by. We'll see the lap time at the line. Oltena's going to move forward as well. Has Taylor had enough of punching the hole in the air?
Yeah, indeed. Love to have an interview with Oltena, just so I can be like, what's the deal? What's happening, Chief? That's fine. Each to their own. Getting a little bit more racy towards the top grouping as we're going to a little bit of 3 wide, but nothing too major. The odd bits of 2. There is a little bit of a 3 wide because who's that? Who's moving to the inside? It's Phil Krause, I think. Why?
Yeah. Because look at those lap times. 2/10 last time chopped off. I think we're going to start seeing the pace pick up. I think drivers have recognized there is, like you say, no way they make it to the end, and now maybe they've reached that point of no return we were talking about slightly earlier. Eduardo Leo's in the mix as well. Just keep that in mind. He is 1 lap down, though, but in the lead, packing right at the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, probably hoping for a caution here for sure, but still would like to unlap himself before that eventuality if we do end up getting it. Like I say, pace is picking up a little bit. I think, like you say, you're absolutely right. I think there's been an acceptance that they are just going for it. I did see Alex Russell got the all clear to come back out, started blinking again, race control, like, back in. Back in. That is a shame.
Poor Alex Russell. And I will say, before the last round of the championship, I had my internet die for a good 30 minutes. I was stressed. I can only imagine the heartbreak that poor Alex is feeling right now. Anyway, that intensity has well and truly risen. Does Phil Krause want to close off the season by matching Leo 2 wins and making sure there's no doubt about who is the best this summer?
Yeah, indeed. This is where things, I say, going to get slightly interesting. So is Phil Krause thinking, do you know what? I want to win this championship in style. I want to go and grab this race victory, especially considering we've been hyping him up a little bit as being a bit of more of an oval specialist, despite obviously dominating this championship. He is very good on the ovals. As into pit lane again.
It's Matt Taylor, and is that remember, leading for quite a while, only came in 28 laps into the run. Is he coming in because he wants to put tyres onto that car as well and thinks this is the right time to try and take advantage of it?
Yeah, about halfway through the stint, so clearly just split it 50-50 and, like I say, get some fresh tyres onto that wagon and let's see what we can do. Oof. A little bit of an awkward line there for Lichtenberg to deal with heading down into the first turn, just getting caught out a little bit and nearly having a little bit of a greeting from Julian Lortena coming through the exit of T2.
Yeah, no, it's definitely spicing up, isn't it? And I wonder who's going to be next to join Taylor in trying this call, because the longer you go, I personally feel like you've got to try something if you're stretching the tank as long as possible, even if that means running it dry. 30 laps though into the window, 7 more if they weren't saving any more fuel, as many as 17 if they were.
This is the whole thing though. This is why I say like I would rather pit earlier, like what we're seeing with Taylor, that I'd rather pit earlier and go on the tyres and go on the attack there. Because let's be honest, when you're in this pack, I mean, yeah, sure, you might gain a little bit because of how the slipstream's working if you're all playing it quite nicely. You got to think fresh tyres, over 25 laps, fresh tyres, especially late on in the stint, just because of how these tyres really do wear and where they end up going. It can be a little bit tricky to drive with. Are fresh tyres worth the 6, 7, 8 seconds? That you like the difference between taking tyres earlier on and then just stopping for a couple of laps of fuel? Is it worth? Does that time add up?
That's what I'm not sure. I'm not convinced just yet, but I'll let these drivers who are much better than me and have a lot more information at their disposal figure that all out. You can actually see Brandon Rosemar bottom left of the screen. Where the mirror is, that's also his CAPS fuel calculator. So he's getting that fuel number told to him right there, and he's having to drive to whatever he is being told. Some of these drivers, of course, will have spotters and engineers helping them out. Not everyone has that tool, though, some of them working by themselves.
Do you ever like driving to a number?
Oh, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Yes.
I hate it on ovals. I actually quite like it on road courses. I hate it on ovals. Oh my goodness, there was nearly contact there. Eduardo Leo's getting slowed down. Obviously, he's a lap down there. The much darker car and all of that. Getting slowed down a little bit as Costantini was working his way through. Nearly a bit of red line commander drama. We've ever heard that before.
Ooh, plenty of times before, haven't we? Now, he is again a lap down and dropping behind, I think, Chad Simpson here. Might expect him to try and stay out of trouble. Cam Dance, though, is in trouble. And slow down low. Caution will not fly. Will stay green. 17 laps left to go for the leaders. Who's decided, though, that now's the time to come into pit lane?
Yeah, again, that spin ended up going low. If it's below the white line, they'll tend not to throw the caution. So no requirement there for the caution. And let's be honest, if you span back around and stopped on the racing line, I think you'd get into a lot of trouble from race control. Fastest lap comes in from Matt Taylor. It was nearly a second faster than our leaders.
And that, I think, shows a big gulf, because that's also about 3/10 quicker than the previous fastest lap. New livery for Cam Dance. Unfortunately, it's on display doing a bit of a pirouette, and the 111 might be down to pit lane sooner rather than later. And look at how much darker. That's not just my eyes. That is definitely cloud cover that has come on in. Track temperature, though, has not dropped off just yet.
Well, there you go. Drops a single degree whilst we're pulling up the graphics. So down to 40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, the reason why I was saying about Taylor there is that if this group is going to the end of the race, Taylor's not going to be back in it, right? Simple as that, right? But if this group does have to make that splash, if they do have to stop for about 4 laps of fuel, I think Taylor's actually in the better spot here. But then again, I wonder if there's someone ahead of him. Sure, there's got to be someone ahead of him that is just doing the fuel mile, that is just playing that fuel game to not come in. I don't know how this is going to unfold. We've got 15 more laps to decide this final race of the season.
And so, Brian Carey into pit lane. I also saw Jaden Munoz boxing, and so I think both of them are going to take tyres. Brian Carey needed a front wing as well, so I'm wondering if there was a bit of drama and contact between the Williams Esports car and the Powerslide Motorsports entry. 14 laps left to go. Championship leader's going to lead at the line. They've got some traffic in front of them as well. Oh boy, it's all shaped up for a barn burner of a finish. Exactly what Kraus did not want to see.
No, that is Xavi Ross, by the way, who is the next one ahead. So that's the dealing. Jason Brophy now sets the fastest lap of the race. Obviously, you can see that being a 32.3. Phil Kraus in the previous lap time, 33.0, as he squidges it back up and gets to the inside of steel.
So, we are now left with 14 cars in this pack. Altena's decided it's time to come towards the pit lane. One by one, our contenders are dropping, and Chad Simpson, almost a full second back from Michael Romanidis, is that second grouping fighting themselves out of contention for a win. Fastest lap after fastest lap, though. That's a statement from Matt Taylor, who is now starting to close up to the back of some other cars that he might want to try and slingshot past. Might also operate as some traffic. Here comes Jeff Drake to the pit lane.
This is telling me that they're definitely going to have to stop. And this is telling me that it's actually, surely this is more advantage towards the likes of Taylor. Right, if all this group do indeed have to stop, surely Taylor is going to gain more than, even if you were to be like really conservative with how much of a difference it is and say, let's say it's 10 seconds. Surely there's the pace in the tank, because he keeps going nearly a second a lap faster. That is, realistically, as they're driving around, he's gaining more than a second a minute on the entire field.
So we're going to watch Taylor here out across the line and trying to pick up where Jeff Drake is in comparison. Drake has just rolled off of pit lane. Your leaders, by the way, almost 3 wide as Costantini down low on steel slides his way forward to second. I'm pretty sure Matt Taylor's going to have at least a 3 or 4 second advantage over Jeff Drake, still yet to work his way onto the back straightaway.
Yeah, and again, as much as you might think, oh, hang on, he's actually really close to the leaders, do you remember Matt Taylor is a lap down at the moment? You lose that much time when stopping around here. More drivers entering pit lane. That was quite busy this time, including Phil Kraus.
And a big lockup from Steele, but I think that was okay. No one seemingly going to get dinged for aggressive pit entry. And now this is where you got to hit your marks. There can be no mistake if you're Phil Kraus at the private label team hype number 19.
Now, just for banter, put up the points now. Costantini's leading and Phil Kraus is in the pit lane in 10th spot. That championship will be very close. Obviously, we still potentially expect Costantini to come into the pit lane, but realistically speaking, it is looking pretty tight. Costantini leading. We did see him do a bit more fuel saving earlier on. Is it enough for the extra 9 laps? I'm not so sure.
We did see tyres go on to the private label team hype car, so as Kraus rejoins, seeing now Hilgard, Ladado, Pinto, there's a bunch more cars making their way down to the lane, and Kraus rejoins. Only 2 seconds behind Matt Taylor. He's closer than Jeff Drake was, so we'll see if he's going to be able to take advantage late in this race if Taylor's tires start to give up the ghost. These drivers still, though, out on track and fighting. It's Jesper Orman, it's Costantini swapping around across the line.
This is fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating. Mangan, Chad Simpson onto the pit lane, moving Phil Kraus back inside the top 10. Look, even if Costantini is able to get to the end of the race, even if he's able to win, I know, looking at those points, it's close, but Phil Kraus is in position to take it.
Yeah, he's done just enough. And I've got to say, when it is such a hard-fought fight all the way to the end of the season, there's always the story of what if, and the what if was Road America. Wonder if potentially Christian Steele did get a penalty, by the way, because he was held very, very long. There comes the speed, though, from Kraus as he tries to close on Matt Taylor.
Caution!
But as the caution flies, 1 lap down, my goodness! What a way to close the season as Jesper Orman just stolen a potential win.
7 laps left to go. We will be able to get back racing, but it all depends on what this group does. If they all pit, then everyone gets the wave round. If they don't pit, do they get the wave round?
No.
They don't pit.
No, because they'll pick up the leader. So it might be a fight between 4.
If I'm in that boot, if I'm Urban Costantini, Romanidis, and Rose, I'm not pitting.
You've got to not pit. No. Here's the replay, by the way. It's Altena and Carey. Oh my days.
There was a little bit of the old sim racing glue in that one, I think. It's just a bit messy. Like I don't think either of them really did anything wrong, at least from what I saw. See again. Oh, it moves up a little bit, but that's not where the contact is. Oh, there's some space between those two vehicles.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Well, so they stay out. I mean, they've got to, right? There's no question.
If they were already going to make it to the end anyway on the fuel that they had, then yeah, but let's see if they actually come in this time.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
Shootout to the end. Well, if there was ever a time to join, now would be it.
Yes, indeed. So is Rosebrook going to be the leader? Because did he pit?
He did pit. He did not take tyres, though, I'm pretty sure. Neither did Oscar Mangan. Christian Hilgard may have taken a bit of a gamble, a bit of a flyer here as well. Look at the pit stop time on the left of your screen.
Yeah, indeed. And hopefully, I was going to say, hopefully like the 3 that have come into pit lane, hopefully they all grab tyres, because if you don't, you're crazy. This is going to be very interesting. The gamble now, the guess now is what colour is the flag when we cross the line? Because I'm thinking it's going to be the colour it currently is.
Well, next flag ends the race. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. I don't want to be that guy. I do not see this race ending green. No way.
So Xavi Ross, by the way, might have to get an end of line penalty because he would end up being in the leading lap line. I'm not quite sure what else is going to happen. Jason Brophy is also potentially going to end up with an EOL. Diogo Pinto, he's 2 laps down. He is towards the back of the field. Same to be said for Eduardo Leo.
Disaster for Red Line.
This has not been the best for that day for them, has it?
No, but to be fair, looking how good they were at like Road America and all that, it's like fair enough. It is what it is. Either way, we're going to get a Rosebrook comes into pit lane then so to take tyres, because accepting that, let's be honest, I'd rather start 4th position with some fresh tyres than 1st position with nothing. So we'll drop back into 4th spot before we get these wave rounds beginning now. I think that's good from Brandon Rose. That's the right call. Because otherwise you're just going to be a sitting duck and then you're going to cause an absolute monster of a crash. We are going to get green flag racing. That is one thing that we do know. I don't know how long it's going to last, but the green flag will wave once more here at Fontana, and it will be for the last time.
Well, I'm excited. I'm also nervous, and I'm sure the drivers are as well. Oh, boy. For Kraus, it's just stay out of trouble time right now, isn't it? That's the one thing he's thinking about. Costantini, it's hero or zero.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't know about you. My heart rate's picking up. I can take a little look at that. I'm heading up. I'm heading up on the heart rate point of view. I think this is going to be an exciting end. I'm sure the heart rates. I would say the average heart rate on this grid, especially once we get ready to go racing again, it's going to be creeping up. I would be shocked if anyone on this grid was outside of triple digits right now when it comes to their heart rate. Everyone has to be, surely.
And so remember, lapped cars are going to get to the back of the field, so watch for Xavi Ross to drop backwards. We're going to keep an eye on those top two drivers in the points. Both of them talking to one another, trying to figure out what's happening. And so, let's get ready to go. It's a 3-lap shootout here from the Action City. It's Jesper Orman, Costantini up front, and the championship leader Kraus buried back in 7th. Right, out of the corner they run. There's plenty still for these drivers to fight for. Who's going to be the most aggressive up front as Orman blocks down low?
Yeah, Costantini's trying to get to the outside, already going to try and retake over the race lead if he desperately can. He's going to get to the high side as they depart the second corner. Phil Kraus, no, never mind. He's got his black flags cleared. I don't know why they had that. I think it was because of the lapped cars dropping down the order. Either way, we're not going to talk about that because that's all been dealt with by race control. It's fine. But I had a little bit of a heart-in-mouth moment for Phil Kraus there, who currently runs in 6th and is the champion-elect with 2 to go.
So, Orman's got an advantage up front, and I think it might now be down to him and Costantini around the outside. It's going to be a 1-lap shootout. Romanidis and Rosberg are going to try and build behind. It's got 1 lap to go in the VCO IndyCar Challenge season. Who wins the race? Who wins the championship?
For Costantini, it's got to be win it or bin it. Let's go for it. It's not going to be the championship for him, but you've got to end the season on an absolute high. But there'll be other drivers around that are desperate to end on the same high as Phil Kraus sets the fastest lap of the race.
And remember, that's 2 points to add to the total as well. It just makes the championship situation even easier. 3 wide down to turn 3 for one final time. Costantini pinching Orman, the Indy Alliance Racing driver, trying to slide his way up the track. He'll take the shortcut down to the apron, and it's a mirror incident of the ISOWC, and streaking through to take the victory. Michael Romanidis versus Brandon Rosberg settled by 4 thousandths of a second. Romanidis holds on. My goodness.
And Phil Kraus with a run over to 3rd position, enough to take the championship. You've got to say for Costantini, left absolutely nothing on the table there. Crash between them as they were coming out of the final corner, which we see so many times around here. But what a race it was. 4 thousandths of a second to separate the final race of the season. Wouldn't have it any other way. And what a worthy champion Phil Kraus is.
There's a look at your winner and at your champion as well. Dramatic season to say the very least. Only 1 repeat winner. 5 different winners in 6 different races. Phil Kraus, though, endures, and now as the first ever winner in the VCO IndyCar Challenge, he'll burn it down. We'll have a chat with him, and Lewis will close out what's been a great summer. Romanidis deserves his celebrations as well.
Yeah, Romanidis can burn the house down, but let's be honest, Phil Kraus has got his moment. He did exactly what he needed to do today, qualified on pole position, sat at the front for pretty much the entire day, did not make any real mistakes, played the right card and drove the race as a champion should, kept out of trouble, did the right stuff and crossed the line on the podium.
And their celebrations come to an end. Kraus is going to stay out there for just a little bit longer. We'll grab a look at your unofficial race results. Race control might still have a few things to work through to dot the I's, to cross the T's, but 4 1,000ths of a second between Romanidis and Rosberg. Want to finish between them. Kraus grabs another podium with Taylor, Lichtenberg, and then Lodato. The rest of the top 6, plenty of drivers with double-digit gains. Oscar Mangan, Jaden Munoz, and then Chad Simpson and Andrew Marquez complete the rest of the top 10 with Christian Hilgard and David Toth 11th and 12th positions. 13th went the way of Cam Dance in that triple one with Jeff Drake, Adam State, Olivia Hayward, Michele Costantini, and then Jesper Orman 17th and 18th after their battle out of turn number 4. Xavi Ross 1 lap down, Jason Brophy 1 lap down as well, with Pinto, Leo for Redline unfortunately somewhat struggling. And then the used car lot, you get to the likes of Steele, Altena, Carey, Carasala, Russell, Lorenzo, Cinjani, and the list goes on as you find Luis Nunez, Blaze Andrich, Hamilton Okabuwizi, Wilson Nadeau, and Jacob Oster. The other names on that list not getting a chance after missing the field in qualifying. What a way to close the season out. And now standing by with Lewis McLeod, it's the winner for the final race of the season. It's Michael Romanidis.
Wow, that was an exciting one, and what an end. 4 thousandths of a second you took that victory by. Could you believe that coming out of turn 4? That was crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I think your really big objective was to kind of help Michele as much as I could to win that championship. Obviously, a lot of positions behind to try and fight for, so I tried to do that. And yeah, thankfully, well, that was probably the first lucky race of the whole season for me. It was kind of interesting, every other race with a lot of different stuff. I kind of half understood how the game works this season with this series, but yeah, anyway, really happy to get a decent race. I kind of just remembered going into turn 4 on the last lap that we can actually use the apron, and it was kind of perfect because I was up high, like almost 4 wide, and I just about had enough room to go for the switchback. I think it was on Roseboro, and then yeah, just about enough room. Obviously a crash up ahead, which was quite unlucky, but yeah, I think Kraus did enough, and congrats to him for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, superb drive there. Obviously, you know, looking forward after that. You know, like it was having a crazy race there. What are you up to after this? Obviously, you know, still got a busy time on iRacing over the next few months.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly why I'm going away for a couple of days. Just a bit of relaxing, and then it's back to, you know, all the sort of shenanigans we have this summer, which is yeah, not an ideal time to be really busy in the sim rig. But yeah, a couple of World Championships coming up ahead as well. So this one is over finally. For the last 5 weeks, there was 3 races per week, so that was pretty difficult. But yeah, full focus now on more IndyCar stuff, as you guys know. And yeah, thanks for a great series. Always really fun with VCO.
Yeah, certainly. So congratulations on a very well-deserved victory, Mike. Have a good one. Either way, we're going to chuck Michael Romanidis out of here, and we'll talk to the other side of that 4,000th of a second battle in just a moment, because it's time to speak to the champion himself, Phil Kraus. Pole position, battling up towards the front all afternoon. Managed to come across the line in third there after narrowly avoiding quite a large crash. How was your heart rate as you hit the line?
Honestly, I was pretty worried when that late yellow came out. I don't know what caused the wreck, but I was like, oh god, this is gonna throw a wrench in things, because I didn't know where we were gonna cycle out to, what everything looked like. Like, I knew I was in a good position in terms of position on track, but I didn't know what anything else looked like outside of that. Obviously, Michele had to win, and well, that didn't happen. But yeah, that was hectic for sure. And also, Lewis, I haven't talked to you in forever. How you been?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yes, because Arjuna's he hates me interviewing people, so he kicks me out. It's fine. No, obviously, let's talk about the expectations coming into this. You were the championship leader coming into it. Let's roll it back to the start of the race. How did you deal with that expectation coming into it? Obviously, you know, you qualified on pole position, but still, you know how quickly, better than most, how quickly things can turn around at somewhere like Fontana.
Oh yeah, for sure. The first few stints of the race, it was basically just controlling the lead. Myself, Jeff, Chin. Obviously, we were hoping Brophy as well, but he got an early penalty, which put him back in the field. But yeah, the first few runs was all about just controlling track position, collecting bonus points for leading laps, and just making sure we didn't get thrown into the Hornet's nest. Sorry, but yeah. Then the run after that, after the first yellow, we kind of ended up backing up into the nest a little bit. That was probably, honestly, the most terrifying part of the race, just because everyone was doing a really big fuel save, so everyone was kind of tripping over each other, because there were some guys like running map 1 trying to find track position, some people map 5 just trying to stretch the fuel number as far as they could, and then yeah, that made things really hectic for sure.
Well, it's been an amazing season from you. You have done incredible throughout this championship, superb consistency, and a very worthy champion. Thank you so much, Phil. Good luck as well.
Yeah. Cheers, Lewis. And before I go, just a big shout out to everyone on Private Label Team Hype, Powerslide Motorsports. The work everyone's put in for this championship has been insane, and I would not be here without any of those guys. Jason Brophy, Adam Blocker, everyone who builds our setups, everyone who tests with us, everyone, we put in the work, and it paid off.
Certainly did. Cheers, Phil. Anyway, we've got one final part of the podium to catch up with. It's Brandon Roseborough, of course. 0.004 of a second, the decider between yourself finishing in second and being a victor. Disappointment or still elation to be so tight in such a fantastic race?
Honestly, I'm still very happy with that result. I wouldn't have pictured that 5 laps prior to the finish, so I'm very happy with second place. Congrats to Michael, congrats to Phil. Just happy to be here.
How do you survive races like this when it just seems so chaotic all the time? There was a lot of fuel saving going on. There was so much, even from the penultimate caution, where obviously we had 50 laps at the end of the race and dealing with the fuel. How do you kind of deal with all that and put yourself in the right position at the right time?
So the thing for me is I usually plan on saving fuel, so that way I can extend the stint as long as I possibly can. And then obviously whenever you see people getting a little bit dicey, to back off because you don't want to be involved in the incident. So right place, right time is usually how it works out for me.
Was it pure survival at for the first 100 laps? Just keep out of trouble and don't do anything too silly.
Absolutely, that's the goal.
Well, it paid off in the end with a very, very good second place. Yeah, sure, 5,000 short of taking a victory, but yeah, we take that. Brandon, thank you so much, and yeah, very well done.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Great to have that chat with our podium sitters and season champion Phil Kraus, grabbing another podium to close the season off as well. And Lewis, what a season it has been. Yes, there's been some ups and downs along the way, to say the very least, but here's a look at how, again, provisional championship points will shake out. Kraus, Costantini and Leo still 1, 2 and 3, but the rest of the top 10 finally has locked itself in.
Yeah, look, let's be very clear here. Nothing's really going to change with at least the top of that championship. There isn't there's not really enough penalties in the world to deal with that. But for those other positions, there's still prize money being dished out, right? That stuff can still change. Race Control's got quite a lot of work to do, especially with how some of the things were over the final restart there. I think some of it was quite messy on all fronts, but it is what it is. Race Control have a lot to deal with trying to juggle the race to get back underway for that final start. I'm just going to say, though, I really enjoyed this race. I've thoroughly enjoyed the championship, the 3 rounds that I've done.
Shaking my head.
What? I had to throw you a little bit under the bus. I was busy for the first 3 rounds, which I will say Arjuna did schedule me on, even though I did tell him weeks before that I was unavailable.
It's okay, I was trying to bully you into doing it.
Fine, don't worry about it.
It's fine, we got Joey in for Iowa instead, and we had a blast. And of course, yeah, plenty more to come on VCO Esports, so make sure you follow us on social media, as well on Twitch, on YouTube, where all the action will come. VCO Infinity is just about a month away from returning, and should be plenty of fun. But all good things come to an end, including this 2024 VCO IndyCar Challenge. Powered by our team at Open Wheels, powered by our team at VCO. Thank you so much for being a part of the ride. For Lewis McLeod, Ewan O'Leary, Joey Tebben, and myself, Arjuna Kankibadi, that have brought you all the action. We've had a blast. We hope you have had as well. Fontana was a great place to burn it all down, and Phil Kraus leaves as the 2024 VCO IndyCar Challenge champion.